On the Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. Also, you can check us out at onthewakeupradio.com as well as otwtube.com. That is otwtube.com. And let's see who we have in the building so far. BB4OD and Straight Black Pride to Sister Vanessa. Of course, greetings to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. Straight Black Pride to Brother Sar. Greetings to Lord Vale. Let's see. Greetings to I. Allen. Greetings to Unique One Express. And a BB4OD, the brother pro-black and plant-based. And I think that is everyone thus far. If I missed anyone, my apologies. So we're doing something different today. Something special, I think. We are having guests. And if you check out the show on the regular, it's not very often that I have guests. Much like Rakim, I consider myself a microphone soloist. But for this discussion, I have reached out to a group of brothers and sisters, to get their input while I lay back and relax and enjoy the vibe. So we have two brothers and a sister. I'm actually expecting two more sisters. And actually, before we get started, I have one announcement. My apologies. Again, on June 20th, 2021, we're having our annual Straight Black Love Day cookout here in the Washington, D.C. area. And this will be from noon until about basically dark. And it's a free event. So this will be located at Oxen Run Park Shelter, 2300 Oxen Run Drive, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. And this event is free to all straight, black, and proud people. So if you're on the East Coast, you want to come through. Again, it's free food. Think of it just like a Straight Black Pride family cookout. That is pretty much what it is. So if you're straight, black, and proud, you can come through. You're one of those rare people that leaves comments after the show and talks about how I'm a bigot and all that stuff. Please do not show up because we will have security there to escort you away. So with that being said, I am going to bring on my panelists one at a time and allow them to introduce themselves. And you know what? We're going to go old school. We're going to go ladies first. You make sure that Sister Nzinga is ready. She appears to be ready. Yeah, she gave the thumbs up. All right, sister, I'm going to bring you on first. And greetings, sister.
Please, how you doing?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was getting ready to say it first. I'm like, oh, you're muted. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Okay. Introduce yourself first of all.
All right. I am Nzinga the Queen. I am a published author, an educator, a yoga instructor, nation builder.
Oh, okay. See, she comes on with like multiple credentials and whatnot, showing off. See, I'm not going to get any more people with more credentials than myself anymore. We're not going to do that anymore. It's the last time for that. But we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
There's a there's an echo. I'm hearing there's an
Mhm.
echo. I'm not sure if that's on my end. Hopefully, it's not on my end. Was the echo on before the sister came on? Y'all let me know in the chat because I don't want to. Oh, okay. They said turn down. They were saying turn down your volume. Turn down.
My
It,
volume.
it,
Can y'all hear me?
okay, how's that? We good? Okay, I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, sister. Stand by. We're gonna have brother St. Louis Red come on. Hopefully the brother's ready. Brother, you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Oh, okay, cool.
Can
All right, greetings, brother.
you hear me? Greetings. I appreciate. Oh, let me turn down my volume. Greetings. I appreciate you having me, brother.
You're a
Oh,
little low volume wise.
let me see. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you're good.
Okay. I was saying appreciate you having me.
Oh, no problem, brother. Introduce yourself and whatever credentials you have as well.
Uh, Saint Louis Red. I heard you say Saint Louis. I appreciate that. Um, I'm just a black brother that loves my people. The BB Fahodier.
All right, BB Fodia, brother. We always appreciate people who love their people. And next, brother Muhammad, are you ready, brother? Greetings, brother.
Peace, peace, peace. Thank you for having me. My name is Muhammad X Shakur. I'm born and raised in New York City, Brooklyn to be exact. I don't necessarily have any serious credentials, but I can tell you briefly about myself. I've been a huge supporter of healthy relationships, so much so to the point where when I was in high school, I was a member of the RAP program, which stands for Relationship Abuse Prevention. And the whole point to that was at the point at that time was to teach fellow teenagers about healthy relationships and what unhealthy relationships look like. And I've been going hard on that information for almost 16 years now. By trade, I am a historian, and I say this because anytime that I have time, I'll sit down and I do a whole lot of research. It is not just strictly on Black love. I've done research on economics, psychology, and healing, and anything that you can think of that could be conducive to the advancement of our people. Straight Black pride.
All right, straight black pride, brother. I like how you said I don't have any credentials, and then proceeded to lead with his credentials. We
They're not
appreciate you.
they're not official. That's why, because you know how it is when people think of credentials, they think of bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, or in the case of Sister Nzinga, certified yoga instructor.
Well, brother, I'll put it like this. For myself and other people, whatever you bring to the table to aid in the liberation of black people, that is your credential. Because
Thank you.
we have plenty of people with multiple degrees that don't do anything at all
That is
for the
true.
liberation of black people. Therefore, their credentials are not impressive to me. Not as impressive as those that do the work. So I'm actually, oh, brother, you got ripped off in the building. BB4 and straight black pride, brother, you got ripped off. That's one of the biggest supporters. He always looks out, always supports, always helps out.
Is that my
So,
brother Torre?
indeed, it is. So, I am expecting two more guests, but I guess they will show up when they will show up. And thus, it looks like the sister's on her own at the beginning of this mission. So the first question I have, and by the way, those in the chat, you can ask questions as well. Just at me so I can ask the panelists. But my first question is, and we'll start with the sister. We'll do it like that. How long have you been conscious?
Too long to count. My mother was in the movement, so I grew up having the knowledge, and I started really studying on my own when I left home because I was searching for something different, and I realized that's not where I wanted to be. So I came back. And when I say I came back, I was just searching for something different because I'm like, yeah, mom, and these dashikis and head wraps and all of that. I'm like, it's got to be something different. But you always go back to what you know and what you appreciate. And so I was raised in the movement.
Okay. All right. That is interesting. And people in the chat are saying that. Okay. So when you're not speaking, they're saying that we need everyone to mute their mic when they're not speaking. Apparently, we're getting some feedback. Hopefully, that's not from my end because I'm not muting my mic. So we had to come up with another solution. But thank you for that, sister. Brother Muhammad, how long?
I've been on this journey in consciousness, I want to say maybe for about 12 years. I actually got put onto it by a fellow brother. Wait, can y'all hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, just a second. But yeah, I've been on this journey since I was 19. I'm 31 now. Another brother that I encountered from the rap program when I was in high school, he actually was on the journey and he had put me onto a little bit of information. And since then, I've been head first into this journey.
Okay. So we have some veterans. All right. And lastly, brother, let us know how long you've been on this journey.
Yes, sir. I'm glad we reworded it to journey. My journey started when I was 12 years old. My grandmother got me involved in community work, so I started doing work in the community, and both grandmothers got me reading. It started with comic strips, for example, but looking in my immediate neighborhood at the predicament of the African American male in particular, because most of the women in my family were producing and housing and working, and the brothers were selling drugs, killing, etc. And I knew that wasn't our story. So when they introduced me to comic strips, that got me involved with reading. Then I started reading autobiographies. Then I started Dr. Amos Wilson and various other authors. So it all started for me around 12 with reading and community work.
Okay, brother, that's interesting. So the next question that I had, and it's interesting because the question I had I can't really ask because you all started so young, much like myself. But so I'll reword it. How has being on your journey affected your search for a compliment? And whoever wants to step up to the mic first, I see the brother smiling. He's like, "Oh man, I want this one." Either brother, either one of y'all can start it off.
I'll jump out there because I've been looking for guidance somewhat to an extent on this recently. I had high expectations of myself and low expectations of those around me from everything I saw. So initially when dating, I don't want to say, first and foremost, I've met and dated a lot of amazing and beautiful sisters. That's neither here nor there. That's not what I'm getting into. But I was kind of meeting people where they were because I didn't know. As we get older and social media and the internet and the world gets smaller in that way, you can look at DC versus St. Louis, et cetera, and you can see yourself. You can go to Harlem and see yourself up and down the strip, where initially your immediate neighborhood is what you saw. And I was kind of isolated. So I thought it was a matter of meeting sisters where they were and seeing about their journey. And an elder told me recently, something that I experienced throughout it, is that oftentimes people see how pronounced and strong you are in your consciousness or in your awareness or in your strength and where you see yourself, and they're attracted to that, but not necessarily what comes with it. And so it's a matter of connecting with you there, and then once there's that connection, trying to shift you into kind of where they are. which generally wouldn't work with me.
Brother, you said a mouthful right there. It, oh man. Let me just say real quick. What you said is so right on, that people see what they like about you. They don't realize is the fact that you're on your journey, and that's what attracts them. But when they find out what it takes to be able to maintain a relationship with you, then that repels them. I would think that we've all had that experience, where, if you're a brother or sister sees you, she sees your masculinity, she sees your energy, your intelligence, your assertiveness, these types of things, and she's attracted to it. But then when you lay down the guidelines for what it takes to be with you, man, it's a whole nother ball game. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Brother Muhammad, you can speak on that, brother.
Definitely. It's been hard, and it's been a little bit complicated in terms of finding a mate. I have dated a handful of beautiful sisters here and there, but nothing actually panned out, because it goes back to what you had said, brother DC. When it's all said and done, the sister's attracted to the masculinity. She's attracted to the assertiveness. She's attracted to the, what it is that sisters find black men attractive about. But when it's all said and done, taking the time to get to know me, it's like, hold on, wait. You have boundaries. You have respect. You don't view me in a negative light, and it completely just annihilated, not annihilated, but it they got bust over the head, so to speak, with their perspective of men. Because even though these sisters were beautiful, they carried themselves decently, and they did have intelligence, they still genuinely view men as dogs. So when they did encounter a brother who viewed them with the utmost respect, carried them, not carried them, but viewed them with the utmost respect and treated them as such, it's like, hold on, wait, like something's wrong right here.
Oh, okay, brother. Hey. Man, we could spend a lot of time on that, but we're not. We're going to move on to the sister and get a sister's perspective on that question. Go ahead, sister.
All right, thank you. I agree with the brothers. I hear echo in my ear. Can y'all hear echo?
You sound good to me.
Okay. What about now? Is there an echo? I don't know where the echo is coming from. I only have I put my earbuds in and I still can hear it. My volume, turn it down.
Yeah, just a little bit.
What about now?
It's good.
That's better?
No, it's a bit of an echo.
So I'm not really sure where the echo is coming from. This is the only thing I have up.
And there's an echo on my end too, so I don't really know what's going on. It could be some technical difficulties on our end. It might be on DC's end, even though I really don't think that's the case, because he never really had technical difficulty issues. But
okay,
yeah.
Everybody's echo is gone now.
Okay, I'll try. There it is. I can hear. Okay, so as far as my journey, so it's been a little bit challenging, and the reason why I say that it's been challenging is because I feel like people love the outward expression of who you are. It's almost like they love your light, but they can't handle your shine. And so there's a lot of things that, for me, I'm not going to dumb myself down. I'm not going to lower my standards. I'm not going to placate just foolishness. I'm not. But that doesn't mean that I don't know how to be humble as well. I'm definitely grateful for all of the things that I have experienced within my own life, but that in some ways elevates my conversation. So if we can't have an intelligent conversation, that's going to be very challenging. Like I can talk about the stuff that's on the news. I can talk about the things that are within my field. I can probably, understand, another person's field and their background or whatnot. But I think sometimes it comes from a lack of understanding. I'm not really in the mind space where I want to teach somebody why white America doesn't value us. If you don't come with that knowledge already, I really don't have time to do that. I did that in my 20s, trying to, get people to understand this is why I do this is why. I don't want to do that anymore. So at my age, if I'm meeting someone my age, he's going to have a level of understanding of who he is already, who I am already, and what we're striving to get to. If he doesn't have that, then I'm not interested. And
I would like to piggyback on that. That I want to say that was definitely my struggle during my 20s. Not in the sense that I was trying to get people to understand, but I did, because of the fact that I was very knowledgeable. I made it my business to spread that information, or as they say, spread awareness. But like you said, when it's all said and done, if you aren't at that level of understanding where there's a reason why white people mistreat us, or white America mistreat us. And if you're not there, then I'm not going to waste my energy. I'm not going to say that you're not worth talking to, but you're definitely not worth dating.
Not to keep adding on, but as you were speaking, sister, it definitely resonated with me. But I will say this: there's a difference between those who are inquisitive and would like to understand more, and those who are testing. Like I've dated a few sisters who were like trying to test me on my knowledge and trying to counter, my experience and what I know, versus other individuals who were maybe late to the journey, but were just trying to learn more. But either way, it can be exhausting, and you feel like this isn't. I'm here to do work, and this one-on-one, almost feeling like instruction, it's a drain in terms of energy.
All right. I definitely understand that, have experienced all those things. My next question is, and the panel can go around after I ask this question, because I think I'm going to get some headphones. Maybe I am the one causing the echo. But who do you all look to relationship wise as a blueprint for the type of relationship that you would like to have? And whoever would like to take that question, you can go ahead and take that.
I would like to answer first. I actually have a combination of a few sisters for my blueprint. Primarily, one of the first one is Winnie Mandela, mainly because of her staunch support towards Nelson Mandela, even though unfortunately he had mistreated her. A second one is Sister Betty Shabazz, who was married to Malcolm X. The second, Amy Garvey, who actually was not a feminist. The first, Amy Garvey, was a feminist, so I definitely rock with the second one. And there was a fourth one, Sister Scheherazade Ali. Though these four women are most definitely my blueprints, because not just how they carried themselves, but how much love they had for the Black man, and how much they were willing to work with them, not necessarily become subservient or to become a doormat, but it's just, yeah, I gotta let you know, brother, something ain't right. From Betty Shabazz doing all that she possibly can to snap Malcolm X back into reality, which eventually led to him leaving the Nation of Islam, to Sister Scheherazade, who has incited so much controversy before I was born, back in '88 and '89, with her books, the Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man.
I would say that my examples of womanhood would come from, my idea of what womanhood is would definitely come from examples, people that I've walked the path with, whether good or bad, because some of them, they show you what not to do, also from reading. I have read certain books that definitely uplift womanhood, but also African manhood, and then I would also say, and I'm looking at my paper because I write, some of my thoughts down as people are speaking, but also just from knowing myself, knowing what I desire, knowing what I bring to any situation that I'm in, whether it's a friendship or whether it's a complementarity type of a relationship. So I look, I'm always watching what's around me.
For me, my examples of relationships that I look to, it's a lot shorter. I just finished. Well, I'm in the process of reading Shahrazad Ali's books with a couple of sisters. Just finished one, but Shahrazad is a good example, even though I'm not as familiar with her husband. Betty and Malcolm are great examples as well. My examples are a little bit more personal. My great grandmother and great grandfather, who I saw as grandmother and grandfather, may not have been as conscious and did not give me that, but they gave me a lot, and they're from Mississippi. So, in fact, I'm tapping into my grandfather right now. I've been gardening. I built the whole garden, picnic tables, everything that I saw him doing when I was a child. I'm actually doing right now. My other examples would be Walamu Baruti and Ya Baruti out of Atlanta, Georgia, are great examples for me personally.
Brother, I'm glad that you mentioned the Barudis because I was actually going to mention them. And I'm not sure, I got to look up the date, but the Complementarity Conference is actually coming up in June. I think it's June 6th. So anyone that's interested in understanding
June 5th.
June 5th. All right, thank you for that, sister. June 5th, that's the seventh annual Complementarity Conference, and that's going to be online. Anyone that's really interested in seeing a warrior scholar couple and people who have joined together to do work and aid the community, that brother and sister, those elders, indeed have been an inspiration to a lot of people. And I see that, oh, okay, we have another guest who has shown up. We got another sister in the building, so we'll bring the sister on so we can have a little more balance, a little more mayat. Greetings, sister.
Hi,
Introduce yourself, please.
my name is Camille. I am very proud to be here. I'm sorry to be fashionably late. My meeting went over and I just looked up. I'm like, I'm on Central Standard Time, guys. It's not an excuse, but I'm like, oh my God, it's 8:30 in New York, in Jersey, and DC. So I'm Camille. I live in Texas. Um, I am a friend of DC Radical himself. I am very happy to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be on the platform. I am a single conscious Black woman and proud of it. So I just wanted to touch bases with everybody and say hi.
All right, thank you, sister.
Excuse me, brother. I just want to backtrack right quick because based off the answers, I probably might not have fully understood the question because I believe you brought up the whole blueprint thing, into which I said, the sisters that I mentioned were the blueprint of my ideal mate. But as far as like, relationships is concerned, or what I perceive as the blueprints, it's a whole bunch of them. Not just, Betty and Malcolm, Winnie and Nelson, sister Shahrazad Ali and her husband, because I mean, again, dating back to all the way in 88 and 89 before I was even thought of, when she was able to do what she do as far as publishing the books and going around, she had the utmost support of her husband, which I have to respect. I may not know him, I may not have seen him, but I can tell that's a righteous brother because he stood by his wife 100%. And there's a whole lot of couples that I view as blueprints as well, not just the Garveys, but also Nat and Cherry Turner as well.
Indeed, the great and mighty, powerful prophet Nat Turner and his queen. We can, whenever you say Nat Turner, it just brings joy to my heart. And I think about the wonderful work he did for our people. And Brother I. Allen says, smash the like button. Yeah, indeed, smash the like button, please. We have almost 20 people in the building. Please smash the like button. And also, if you're on the panel, tell your friends you're here. Your friends and supporters and social media people, tell them that you are indeed here. Also, hold on, let me give some shouts out to Brother Dessalines. That's my brother right there, straight Black Pride brother. And I think I saw a BB for Hodier man in the building. BB for Hodier too, a BB for Hodier man. And if our wonderful producer could help me when people ask questions, because I think I have missed some. I believe Brother BB for Hodier man had a question, and I don't think I see it. So, brother, whatever your question was, you can ask it again, because I have not. I missed your question. Um. So my next question is, and maybe, hopefully, I didn't already ask this, but how can I put it? What is it that you absolutely cannot accept in a potential compliment? And I'll let Sister Nzinga start off with that.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay. All right. So, what can I absolutely not accept? Hmm. I cannot accept a non-African compliment. That's number one. Someone who has had relationships, sexual relationships with a non-African woman. I cannot accept a man who is homosexual and wants to come back to this side. Unacceptable. I will not accept a man who does not take care of his children if he has children. I will not accept any type of abuse. Um, yeah, I'm gonna stop right there. It might be some other things, but those are my very, very top, a non-negotiable.
All right, sister. I can. Oh, that's understandable. Oh, that's understandable. I'm not gonna lie. I was laughing because I'm thinking to myself, I can go get some popcorn because she's gonna be here for a while. But uh, brother Red, you could come next.
Excuse me. I'm actually in a I'm in a place where I'm recentering and refocusing to reassess some of those very things. I could piggyback a lot of what the sister said in the alternate. Um, I agree with a lot of that. I mean, to be African is to not practice self hate. So there's no reason for me to say self hatred. But I'm actually in a transition. It's time to close this chapter. There's only so much work you can do as a single African. It's only so much community building you can do as a single African. And I've wanted my partners. I mean, I've been ready for marriage since I was 6. That's what my mother and my grandmother would say. So it's time for me to close that. So I'm taking a second to kind of reassess and evaluate and look at that a little bit more deeply. So I don't want to spew out any old ideals or anything else. So I'll just piggyback a lot what the sister said and the few things I just added on.
All right, brother. Lord Vale says that Muhammad has a long list. So we gonna all grab our beverages and check our phones while you kick this off. So go ahead, brother.
Thank you. Now, it is a huge list, and I'm piggybacking on not just the brother but also the sister as well. But I will say the one thing that I absolutely refuse to tolerate from my compliment is the lack of femininity. And I say this because that is a real serious problem. I'm not saying it's, like 99% of an issue, but it's sadly common that there's a lot of sisters who aren't necessarily feminine. They might look feminine, they might even carry themselves a bit feminine, but then when you really sit down and talk to them, you with them, it's like they have masculine energy or they're just very domineering. And I quite frankly don't have the patience for that. So yeah, that's really on the top of my list. I really need a feminine sister. And if you're not feminine, I can't fuck with you. Excuse my language.
All right, that's your one curse word for the show, brother. uh, Sister Camille, what is the one thing that you cannot tolerate?
Can you guys hear me? Can y'all hear me?
A little low.
I see somebody saying no, and then I see somebody saying yes. How about now? Okay. So you said one thing, because I'm like, my major deal breaker is jail. And I know it's sad because, you know, most of our people of our community, especially men, that's where most of them are. But that's one of mine is jail, and very similar to um, the other young lady. We bisexual, no, thank you. So outside of that, there's the other ones. If they have kids, I only tolerate one kid. If they have multiple kids by different women, that's a deal breaker for me too. So
All right, sister. And I think I've expressed my stance on that, so we'll not reiterate it. One of the questions we had is when the sisters asked, what is everyone's definition, or what does it mean to be conscious? So we'll go around in the same order. We'll start off with Sister Nzinga.
Okay. So, conscious by definition just means to simply be aware. We can be aware of a lot of different things. For instance, myself, I'm aware of yoga. I'm conscious of yoga. I am aware of education. That's my field, my background. That's what I study. Life experiences brings you a level of awareness. But when you ask about consciousness as it relates to African and African centeredness, now that's a different thing. I personally, I stay away from the word conscious and woke. One, because it has become a fad. I have personally seen people selling RBG flags or earrings to white people. That to me is a lack of consciousness, right? Um, but this person claims to be conscious. So I'm not with the fads. This is a lifestyle. This is a movement. So when I deal with African centeredness and the consciousness of that, I'm talking about being sovereign. That's it. Um, and anything that I'm dealing with has to fall under how I'm going to liberate myself and how I'm liberating my people. And if it's not that, then I don't really have much conversation about the conscious versus the wake or the woke people or whatever. It's about African sovereignty for me.
That was a mic drop. My sentiments exactly, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna definitely agree with you on that one, but I'm still gonna give my personal definition. To me, to be conscious is to apply solutions to our problems. And I say this because, I mean, with our illustrious ancestors from Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, they pretty much done already told us what it is. They pretty much already told us what to do. So at this point in time, if some people don't have any idea, then they need to be left behind. But yeah, my personal definition of to be conscious is to actually apply solutions to our problems. And if you are not trying to apply solutions, or if you're not a walking solution, we have nothing to talk about.
Sister,
Uh,
you can take that, answer that question as well. Sister Camille, can you hear me?
for me, I'm here. I'm here. For me, is definitely a way of life. Very similar to what and Zinga said. Basically, an awareness that you know exactly what's going on. You're alert to things that are happening in our community, and you're also aware, very similar to the straight back pride community, that you're not going to just take anything full that what they have going on out there and accepting this new way of normal that they're calling things. So that's a major thing for me, and that comes with a major eye opener for everybody. And I think people have to really develop into consciousness, and it's something that you have to go through rather than be just thrown into, because this new woke community, everybody's woke all of a sudden, but not realizing that, yeah, your eye can be open to something, but you're not conscious to it because you're allowing the crap that's going on out there right now, like, everything that's happening out there. So you have to be aware in what you allow and what you don't allow. So I know what I allow in my lifestyle and what I do not allow, and that pretty much sums me up in consciousness. It's a spiritual awakening for me also.
All right. Um, BB Fahodier, man, had a question for the sisters specifically, and his question is, what has built your specific idea of what manhood is?
What?
Sister Nzinga, you
Oh,
can go
okay.
ahead.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was gonna let the sister continue. My idea of manhood, I mean, it piggybacks off of similar question that was asked before. It's really the examples, what I see, in a life experience. Um, I know, quite a few African centered elders in the community, and I look at their relationships, and they give us the blueprint for what they've done and what they've experienced, so we don't have to make those same mistakes. So I look to that. Um, my father, he wasn't the best father, however, I know what not to do when I look at his and my mother's relationship. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't want that. But my uncles, certain things. I know for me, um, I would say another non-negotiable. If you don't know how to change a tire, like I know how to change a tire, you know? So if you can't change a tire, like I'm questioning who you are as a man. It's like, what were you doing all your life that you can't do the simple work on certain things? And I know that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a man or not, but I look at that and I'm like, well, I know how to change a tire, and I was taught how to do that. So where are your examples, of how to get yourself out of a certain situation, how to, make solutions? So I would just say that my examples really are just those that I've experienced in life, people that I'm able to see and watch and ask questions, and people who are laying down the blueprint or the foundation for what it is and what it should be or what it can be.
Okay, sister, thank you for that. Which seems like we have lost our other sister for a moment. So we will advance to the next question. I believe. Oh, okay. Yeah, Lord Vale says, could the people on the panel date someone who is a more Hebrew or NOI member? I see these smiles and laughs have already started. So, so this is going to be entertaining. All right, sister, I'll let you start it off since you finished it off. You can go ahead.
Why you keep picking on me to go first? Here's why. Okay, to answer the question, yes and no. Um, well, one, I know a lot of the brothers who are Moors, I couldn't do the Hebrew Israelite. I'm sorry. If it's anybody on here that's a Hebrew Israelite, it's no disrespect to you. I could not do a Hebrew Israelite. And I say that because I have a a sister friend who dealt with, a brother. She married him and all of that. They still together to this day. But he's no longer Hebrew Israelite. And some of the stories that I have heard from her perspective, that's not the struggle I want to fight. As far as brothers that are Moors, some of the more righteous brothers that I have seen who are Moors, probably yes, because we would have a lot to talk about. We'd have some great conversations. NOI, probably so, yep. Because one thing that I realize about being in any community, a lot of times you have to look at what the women are doing and how the women feel, and if they feel protected. And in some of these communities, Black women are protected, and so I'm not going to be a part of something or be with somebody or an organization where I feel like I am not protected. And I feel like the NOI they do a good job of protecting all, Muslim women, not just the ones that they are with or the ones that they are married to. You offend or disrespect a woman, a Muslim woman, watch and see how quick the FOI is after you. You know what I mean? There's other conscious communities or whatnot. You can tell somebody you have been disrespected, you have been offended, you anything, and the question becomes, well, what did you do? That's not the fight that I want, So if I'm in a any community and the level of respect is there, the women are protected, then yes, I could potentially see myself dating someone with that level of knowledge or understanding.
Um, to be honest with you, I've never met a sister who was a more Hebrew Israelite. Like, I have no perspective on that. In terms of the nation, I have the utmost respect for the nation. So in theory, absolutely, I could date a sister who was a nation. But I say in theory because I'm not in the nation myself. And what would that mean in terms of developing a long-term relationship? Not a long-term, in terms of a lifetime partnership, marriage, in terms of building a family, et cetera, et cetera. To be honest with you, as I stated, there's very little that I disagree with that I've come across with the nation. But I am not a member of the nation, so I'm not sure how well that would work. I think that, to be honest with you, the reason why I said in theory is because I think the answer would have to be no. Because as the head of my household, my spiritual beliefs, essentially we have to be aligned. And I think that we can build in the community. I can build with a sister in a nation. But in terms of being in a household and having different spiritual beliefs and practices, I'm not there yet.
Can you hear me? All right, cool. Definitely gonna have to piggyback on what the brother said. Like, in theory, I would date a sister from the NOI, but as far as the long-term aspect of things, no, I will not, simply put because of the difference in beliefs. One of the things I definitely appreciate about the NOI is that strong sense of community. So I will say, on that note, I would definitely date a sister who's a member of the NOI, because I can get a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more information about how to basically move as a community. And as far as a female Hebrew Israelite or a female Moor, I've yet to encounter any of them. But I will say no to them, especially the Hebrew Israelites. I say this because I've had experience with dealing with male Hebrew Israelites, and if one of the common things that I've learned about them is that they have little to no respect for women, especially Black women. And so the last thing I would ever want to do is date a sister who's a Hebrew Israelite, and she feels she's supposed to be subservient to me. That's definitely not happening. And as far as the Moors concerned, I've encountered so many male Moors, and I'm fairly certain that some of them have pure intentions, but they could be a little bit conniving. They could be a little bit manipulative. I don't know what the sisters is like, but I will, strongly say no to that, because if the males are conniving and manipulative, chances are some of the sisters are conniving and manipulative.
Okay. I just want to add a little bit, to be completely honest, and this is not a knock on those organizations, because as many people know, it was the nation that was the springboard to my life's journey. But all of those organizations and movements have a tinge of anti-Africanness in them, and they all uphold another identity over their Africanity. So, when you are, you're a Moor, you're not an African. Most of the Moors I've heard speak anyway. You're Hebrew, you're not an African, And then just within the teachings of the nation, there is a tinge of anti-Africanness within the supreme wisdom lessons themselves, which is the foundation of nation theology. So that would make it difficult, and like I said, I know from experience, been there and done that. So let's see.
Can I add on to that?
Sure, sure.
One of the things that I think that we have to also talk about too is being equally yoked with someone. Um, like the brother mentioned, in theory, yes, we probably could relate to and interact, but is that person going to change the essence of who you are? I'm not interested in somebody changing my essence at all. I am a spiritual person, and I saw in the chat somebody asked, "Could you date an atheist?" Atheist, probably not, because we wouldn't have anything that's common. You know what I mean? Well, I should say we wouldn't have anything, but we wouldn't agree on something. With how am I trying to say this? We wouldn't agree on the spiritual aspects. I know what my spirit needs, and I know what I need to do to revive my spirit. So a person telling me that this doesn't exist, or whatever the case may be, and trying to switch that's not going to work for me, because what I have been doing spiritually has worked for me. I know that I like being outside. I know that nature charges me, and I know where to go to replenish my source. You know what I mean? So if a person is trying to change that about me, we wouldn't be able to meet on common ground, because the things that I do for my spirit is very important for my survival.
Damn it. Yeah, I would like to chime in right quick about the atheist thing. I wholeheartedly agree with what you're coming from, but I also want to point out that there's levels to the whole atheist belief, and I say this because when I was citing Dr. John Henry Clarke, for example, he was considered an atheist, or he was a quote unquote known atheist, but the reason for that is because he was wholeheartedly against Christian values, and I believe if he did have any encounters with any other brother and sister of any kind of denomination, he wholeheartedly talked against that. But when it was all said and done, he did cite numerous times that the black woman is God, the black man is God, and he even provided examples too when he talks about the family upbringing by children, by not by children, excuse me. The children's first teacher is their parents. So by default, their parents is their direct interpretation of what God is. That the mother feeds them, the mother clothes them, the father teaches them, the father guides them. They both equally provide some form of wisdom or know-how and experience to make sure that the children is able to grow up and become a strong African child. So yeah, I just want to point out that there's definitely levels to the atheism. Some of them do believe in spirituality, and yes, there are definitely some who don't.
Brother Shakur, to piggyback on that, I think you also have to look at the time frame in which people were making the comment about him being an atheist. It's almost like, if you are not Christian, oh, you don't believe in God, oh, you don't believe in, this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, I never said that. I just said that I'm not Christian, and I would want to say that during that particular time, and especially when you're in the Bible Belt, although he wasn't, but I'm just saying, people will, if you don't do this, then you must be this, because you don't subscribe to what they subscribe to. So I don't feel, and I know you weren't saying this, but I don't feel that he was an atheist. He just chose that, Christianity is not my fight, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
And Brother Shakur, it was also powerful when you said that, or when you reiterated that parents are the first teachers, particularly the mother. And that brings home the point of what we've been talking about, period. If mother is the first teacher and I'm the head of the household and we have different beliefs, how do we raise a family? So I think he brought the point home with that as well. And Brother Radical, DC are my initials as well. But I just wanted to mention, we cannot, hopefully we get one of our sisters back on, and Cammie said she couldn't hear earlier, but we can't make it through the whole episode without addressing Brother Shakur's t-shirt. It's a little heavy for both brothers and sisters, but since we're talking about brothers and sisters, I think it's important to touch on it.
Brother, it's so funny. I looked at the t-shirt, and I was like, oh, I don't want to start off with that. I don't want to start off with that. I said I would get to that though, but I don't want to start off with that.
It's heavy. It's heavy.
But yeah, first of all, we'll let the brother address it, and then we have another question coming in. So, brother Muhammad, go ahead and address the T-shirt real quick.
Black men cannot be your shield and your target. First and foremost, I want to shout out to Sign a Black Man, also Black and Masculine. These two respective pages are really good pages, and they definitely provide a lot of insight for brothers who want to hold on to their masculinity, if that makes sense. And definitely shout out to Sign a Black Man, because it was actually through that page I was able to purchase this shirt. Now, the reason why I have it is because there's this ongoing thing where a lot of sisters love to attack Black men because we're quote unquote not doing what they expect us to do. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's how they go about expecting us to do these things. For example, it goes back to what Sister Njinga pointed out in terms of feeling protected, and how when, all said and done, something bad happens, the first question that pops up is, what did you do? Now, I am not saying I agree with that form of questioning, because I genuinely do not, but as messed up as it sounds, it is a valid question, simply put, because there are some sisters, I'm gonna get to that. There are some sisters who unfortunately put brothers in compromising positions where they have to compromise their safety and their potential freedom, because a lot of these sisters don't like listening to their brothers. The brothers don't like listening to their men. In fact, I grew up in New York City, and this was a common thing. There were a lot of sisters who, not suggested, but it was encouraged that they not go to certain areas, they not go to certain parties in certain areas or whatnot. And sisters would take it as, oh, you're policing me. So you would go, BS would jump off, and then now you're calling your boyfriend or husband, and you expect them to stop what they're doing, whether it's stopping them from working, stopping them from looking out for the kids because you wanted a ladies' night out. So I just wanted to point that out, that we cannot be your shield and your target at the same time. If you want to be protected, you have to be ready, willing, and able to listen to what we have to say. Not agree. I want to put that out there. You don't have to agree with us, but you definitely have to take into consideration of what is going on. And I can give a general example with the whole party scene. All right. Let's see. I grew up in Brooklyn, so I live in Brownsville. I'm with a sister who also in Brownsville. She wants to go party in Bed-Stuy, but unfortunately in Bed-Stuy, they're unfortunately known for gun violence, and there's also a lot of sexual violence that plays out. This is not an actual fact, by the way, but some of these things do occur. And so the sister want to go out to a party out there in Bed-Stuy. I'm telling her it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. Or if you want to go, I will accompany you. The sister don't want to hear it. She insists on want to go out, and will even be a second negative to the situation. The sisterhood that she associate with is possibly not up to standard. So either A, they're out there causing strife, or they attract an unnecessary amount of attention, if that makes sense. And to make a long story short, BS would jump off. Now either A, she feel like she's about to, get into a scrap out with a couple of dudes, or even worse, one guy too many has disrespected her. Now she's calling me. And it's like, I told you not to go out there to Bed-Stuy. No one is saying you can't party. No one is saying you can't, live your best life. But I told you not to go there. And then now either A, I gotta stop and make sure I have a babysitter for our children, or worse, you're calling me while I'm working. So now I got to leave work and come and save you because you want to be a damsel in distress, if that makes sense.
It does. And I brought the shirt up, so I wanted to speak on it as well. To be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about it. And I'm not questioning Brother Shakur or his sentiments. I respect him. It's kind of like my ex had this this T-shirt that she bought for me, and it said "Black women though," and everybody liked the T-shirt. And she's like, "Why you never wear the T-shirt?" And I'm like, "I don't like it." And like, "Why do you don't like it?" And it's like, because it makes it seem as if Black women were an afterthought, or it's like an epiphany. It's like, oh, but Black women though, where for me they are the center. So it's like, if it just said Black women, I'd be better with it. You know what I mean? But the though is what kind of threw me off. With the shirt, to be honest with you, I say it's heavy because I believe it's an expression of pain. There are a lot of brothers who feel like they are constantly under attack, who mean to do well and are trying to do well, but at the same time they feel like they're being targeted by our sisters as well. And then when sisters see it, I could see. I think it's intended to mean well, but I think it stirs up, what's already boiling and kind of keeps it going, or it can keep it going, which is problematic. So I mention it just because I believe it's an expression of pain from brothers, but it's also it can also keep kind of the energy going. What I do want to speak on is that me and my brothers, we do a good job of doing just what you said. We express, our concerns. We're brotherly. We protect. We look for nothing in return. And oftentimes sisters do as we suggest. Sometimes they do not. And when they don't, I'm in a space. I'm different. Some of my brothers aren't, but I'm in a space where, we just go back through the reason and the rationale for the caution. You know what I mean? But it's our role to protect. And it's one of those things where there's a whole host of reasons as to why the circumstances are where they are currently. But as a Black male growing up, my experience is no one gives a shit, Black man. Oh, excuse me. That's my one curse for the episode. I apologize. No one cares, Black man. And I'm not saying that's healthy. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I can't detach myself from it. So that there's duality in the shirt. I would not patronize it or push it just because as a Black man, I am a protector, and I know that can stir up some pain in sisters or stir up some confusion in sisters, but who's protecting me? And that's kind of where the shirt comes from, because when I say I couldn't wear it, whatever feelings or emotions or et cetera, that I may have, we've been taught to suppress them. So whatever's going on with me, whatever lack of protection, et cetera, who cares? You know what I'm saying? I had a scenario, just like you said, brother, where I was in a neighborhood with a significant other at the time. And it was a block party, and I was by myself, and there was a bunch of brothers I didn't know, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm standing in my masculinity. But essentially, my significant other is stirring up problems with this group of men. And so essentially, I'm stepping in. I don't have a firearm on me. My car is nowhere near, whatever the case may be. I'm stepping in to diffuse the situation. And fortunately, I was able to diffuse the situation. But once we got away, I had to talk to her. And ultimately, I had to leave her alone. Because that's not a scenario that you can be putting your significant other in. And so that's why I say there's duality, and it's problematic from both ends. Like, I understand the reason and rationale behind it, but I also don't believe it's that simple. Like, I think the intention is saying, hey, if you want us to protect us, you can't also attack us. I think that's the intention, but it's not that simple. You know what I mean? It's so deep and it's so layered. It's just not as simple as the expression. You know what I mean?
No. Oh, go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
Oh, pardon me.
Hold on,
So
hold on real quick.
Go
hold
ahead.
on real quick. I just wanted to say something real quick, because I wanted to give an example. And I had said this before in a previous show. There's a covenant between men and women, right? And whether it's a personal relationship, family relationship, or you're part of a community, the women that fall within that boundary are your responsibility. And but part of the protection is following the guidance. The minute the woman rejects the guidance, she weakens the protection. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? The same way that sisters spiritually protect brothers. If you with a sister and she say, I just got a feeling, don't go out tonight, hey, just save yourself the trouble. Save yourself being pulled over by the police. Save yourself being We can't, because they can't explain it, but it's part of their power. In that same manner, part of our power is being able to look, see a situation, assess it, and say, this is not good, right? So in like the situation you were talking about, brother, the minute that sister decides that she's not going to follow your guidance, you can't protect her really. And she has stepped outside of your boundary. And the best thing you did the best thing you could do, because the respect needed to maintain a healthy relationship was already breaking down. It was already breaking down, and y'all were going to have conflict about that situation or similar situations moving forward. So that's all I wanted to say, sister. So, sister Nzinga, you can go ahead.
Okay, so I wasn't. I wrote it down, but I wasn't going to say it until St. Louis Red mentioned. He said that it stirs up feelings. Now I like the shirt, I do, but it does stir up feelings for me when I I say that because on one hand, I totally get and I understand what you're saying, but I also said, but you can't be my protector and oppressor at the same time. So those were the feelings that it stirred up for me. And then I saw somebody in the chat that says, real sisters will understand the meaning of the shirt. That in itself is divisive because I'm a real sister. I'm 100% real. I understood the shirt, but it also stirred up feelings. And we can't negate that as well. We have a right to feel the way that.
Oh, she disappeared.
Yeah, and it was just getting good too. I hate that.
Yeah.
There we, there we go.
Okay, I think she's coming back. I'm not sure what happened. Sister Cameron, you can go ahead and speak on that while the sister tries to get her whatever technical issue we have going on.
It looks like we are all having technical issues because I don't even know what topic you guys on. All I heard was shirt.
Oh, brother Shakur's shirt. Yeah, speak on that, please.
Hold on, move your chain. Black men cannot be your own shield with your target. Oh, and oh, I like it. I have no issues with it. Like that's my piece. I have no issues with that shirt.
I just want to point out right quick. I honestly have not gotten any negative feedback from wearing this shirt a few times. There's been a lot of women who saw this. Older sister interesting enough, it was a lot of older sisters. The younger sisters, they probably saw it and ignored me, but for the most part, a lot of older sisters, I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from it. And shoot, even one older sister I was able to have a conversation with, and I used the example of, like I said, situate certain areas are known where there's a lot of BS going on. I'm telling the sister, don't go. You don't want to listen. Something bad jump off. Now you compromising my freedom and my safety. That's not cool. So yes, it also is supposed to invoke a lot of feelings as well too, because again, there are some sisters that purposely put Black men in compromising situations. I'm not saying that it's a malicious thing, but it goes back to what Sister Nzinga had pointed out, which is the whole oppressive factor. So unfortunately, a lot of sisters take male guidance as a form of oppression. Like a lot of sisters take brothers encouraging them to go, certain directions or not to go to certain areas as a form of oppression and policing. And even right there when it comes to sisters wearing certain outfits. Now, I don't police Black women. If you can wear whatever you want. So if you want to wear a real short skirt because it's hot, or short shorts to the point where your butt is poking out, by all means, go ahead and do so. That is your freedom to do as you please. But, and this is a strong but, unfortunately, not too many people are on the same page as you, especially when it comes to strangers, because there will be men that will think, oh, you're available. I can try to holler at you. Or there will be some brothers who are just plain misogynistic. Oh, hey, you got a fat or her, just being wild, disrespectful. So yeah, I say all that to say that yes, it's definitely supposed to invoke a lot of feelings, and it is supposed to what's the word? Introduce a form of accountability as well. And as far as Black men not being protected or not feeling protected, I'm gonna have to disagree with that, because simply put, because as a brother, I do have a brotherhood. It might not be as many brothers I would like for them to be, but I definitely do have a brotherhood, and the brothers most certainly look out for me, especially if they feel like I am, going over the line a time or two. And I will say, given my upbringing, I've definitely had a lot of sisters look out for me. So much so to the point where when I did um improve my relationship with my sister, and I expressed to my sister what happened to me about, I want to say 12 years ago. I was in an abusive engagement. My ex-fiance was verbally and emotionally abusive. My sister told me straight up, the next time a woman feel like she sees to disrespect you, give me a call, because she's gonna run me my round. And I've have a whole lot of female cousins as well that told me straight up, like, cousin, we know you. We know the type of man that you are, and how and we know how you carry yourself. So with that being said, if a sister get out of line with you, you ain't even gotta raise your hands. I know you're not going to, but you ain't gotta raise your hands. Give me a call. So yeah,
That's love.
just
No, I was gonna say that's love, bro. A quick question for you: how do you differentiate? Because I'm with you on that. How do you differentiate, the sister who's emotionally, abusive, et cetera, or the brothers, like you said, who are misogynistic and aggressive, et cetera, in terms in tying into your shirt? You know what I mean? And well, one other thing too, though.
that's a good question, by the way.
One other thing, though. There's definitely a difference between a shield and a protector. You know what I mean? So under that same logic, because hell, sometimes we're used as meat shields, like you said, we're thrown into the fire. You know what I mean? We're used as if we're disposable in a scenario like that, and that technically is a shield. So I mean, hell, in that case, you could be a shield and a target. I could use that shield for target practice. You know what I mean? Because it's disposable. It's not a protector. That's completely different. You know what I mean? And that's not.
Agreed.
I'm just thinking out loud with you. But yeah, how do you differentiate? Because the shirt makes it black and white. You know what I mean? But as you stated, you have men who are verbally abusive, physically abusive, rapists, and all those different things, et cetera. Well, I shouldn't say men. You have adult males,
Yes.
and then you have adult females, even though they don't like that. A lot of people don't like that word. Who do a lot of sick things as well.
Yes, I agree. I was gonna say that's definitely a loaded question, and you definitely put me in a position to where I have to, what's the word, regress and collect some kind of insight. Because prior to this shirt, I have definitely encountered a lot of misogynistic brothers, and I never associated with them. In fact, even the ones that were not in my new circle now, or that I'm currently rebuilding, but even in my old circles, like, I would chop it up. I would let them know, like, how respectful I am. Not so much as blatantly telling it, but it's just my attitude and my persona. I view sisters in a form of respect, even right down to the sisters that are sexually promiscuous or quote unquote hoes. If that's what they want to do, cool. But do I have to partake in it? No. Some brothers choose to partake, and it's like, okay, cool, fine, bet you partake in it, and now you sitting here being disrespectful, and it's like, yo, my man, if that's really how you feel, why not just have sex with a woman that you actually like? Y'all may not agree to a relationship, something I definitely don't agree with, but at least you can genuinely say you're having sex with a woman that you respect, or rather, you having sex with a woman that you like. Don't have sex with a woman that you don't like, knowing good and well that is going to invoke certain kind of emotions and certain kind of feelings as well. And I want to point that out too, because I have a problem with sexual promiscuity.
Absolutely.
Mainly because of the fact of the matter is, sex is a spiritual thing, or to bring up the C word, as Brother DC pointed out, it's a covenant. It's a spiritual covenant. You got to be careful, and you got to be choosy as to who you lay down with. Otherwise, you could be contracting STDs, spiritually transmitted demons. And next thing you know, this all said and done, you're walking around with identity crisis. Like, you Tamika, or you Miss Camille, or you Miss Nzinga, you St. Louis Red, but now you acting like Shatara. You're acting like Trina. And then what make it even worse is that whoever they're acting like, or whatever energies that they wound up taking in, it's now unfortunately affecting you.
Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, when you play with sex, the joke is on the child. And in addition to, the last thing I'll say on it is, a part of that protection that we're providing is correcting brothers when they're living life recklessly. You know what I mean? I had a conversation with one of my younger brothers a while ago, and I was telling him that it was counterintuitive for him to try to bed every woman he meets. Your intention is to bed every woman you meet, but at the same time, you want to talk about how women are loose and all these different things, et cetera, et cetera. I said that's a contradiction within yourself. You know what I mean? Because to an extent, you think lowly of yourself. If a woman is attracted to you and wants to build all these different things with you, and you guys become intimate, now you're like, oh, she trashed because she was intimate with me. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's how psychotic you sound. In addition to it being all types of wrong, I was just expressing to him how he had some internal work he needed to do.
Definitely, and it's the same rules apply to when I brought up earlier how a lot of sisters think that generally speaking all men are dogs, especially black men. But yet when you encounter a man who treats you differently, instead of instead of developing some kind of not developing, instead of opening your mind to the prospect of a man looking at you with some kind of respect or even just accepting it for what it is, if you can't internalize it at that moment, that's okay because it's basically not a learning curve. I'm trying to it's a lesson. I'm gonna just say it like that. It's a lesson right there. But unfortunately, a lot based off my experience, a lot of sisters couldn't really handle that lesson because it was all said and done. I left the presence of some of these sisters. Oh, Muhammad is weird. Muhammad is gay. I think he's gay. Muhammad is this. Muhammad is that. And it's like, all because I didn't make a move on you. All because I asked you what was your goal and your aspirations. After encouraging you to continue to go the route that you wanted to go, i.e., being a doctor, being a nutritionist, being an athlete, or whatever the case may be, because you come from a family, a long list of these kind of things. Okay. But yes, brother, we are definitely on the same page.
All right, let me interrupt the brothers real quick. I let them have their time.
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm mean no disrespect. Sister Nzinga, do you still want to get your viewpoint across, or have you forgotten?
Oh, brother, I was going to her.
I'm good. That was pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I don't have to keep beating the horse.
Because for a minute, once we got on that, then all of a sudden the sisters start having technical difficulties. I don't know if y'all noticed. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, these brothers done ran the sisters off. Now I gotta hear the messages and the DMs and the emails. I'm like, here we go. So we had a question from a sister. Hold on, let me see. Okay, the question was, what are your methods of raising and rearing children? Which is an interesting question to ask single people, but I will let the sister start it off since she stepped away for a moment. So go ahead, sister.
Oh goodness. Um, there's not one method. Let me just say that. And I have children. I have two children. Um, but there's not a method. Well, not one particular method. I raised my children in an African-centered household. My oldest son studied under Baba Baruti. He's now in college. And not saying that college is the measure, that's the path that he chose. But he studied under Baba Baruti. My youngest son went to an African centered school. Um, I homeschooled my children. When I left education for a moment, because I was in Georgia, and Georgia's education is very ridiculous. I don't know if anybody knows that, but they ran me out of the public school setting in the sense that there were too many things that I would have to compromise in not only my Africanness, but also within my certification, and I wasn't willing to do that. So I left the school system, and then I eventually came back into it, but in a different area. So the methods that I have chosen piggyback off of just my life experience. I know that the community is very important, so I created my own community. My family is important, however, they're not all of my family is African centered. So some people we had to distance ourselves from because they didn't understand our lifestyle. And so I would say my method is centered around the community in which I wanted my children to embrace, the love of being African and understanding their Africanness and who they are. And I feel like I've done a great job with them continuing that. They know who they are. And more than one method is it can be right for you. It just depends on what you want for your family. And that's it.
Anybody else that wants to take that question can go ahead.
I'll just say I touched on it briefly earlier when I was differing. Like, an older doesn't being older doesn't make you an elder. Being a dope male doesn't make you a man. I do not have any children as of yet, but I am continuously studying on different ways to put together rites of passages programs and partner with those that are out in the community, because I do believe that there needs to be a matriculation process from childhood to adulthood to elder to ancestor. So I intend to raise my children or rear my children in that manner.
I would like to answer next. I too am also not a father yet, but I've had a lot of experience in terms of helping raising children and looking out for children. I've honestly been doing that since I want to say maybe 8 years old, maybe a little bit younger. I can't remember. My childhood was a little foggy due to the upbringing, but I've had experience with raising children. I've looked after my younger siblings, and when I got a chance to reconnect with my siblings, as far as our bond is concerned, because there were some strained relationships during my teenage and early adult life, I was able to get around my nieces and nephews, observe them, get to know them, figure out how to conduct myself in certain ways. So it is definitely through experience. And two other pieces of information that I love to cite. Well, three. Two of the three pieces of information is by Dr. Amos Wilson, The Developmental Psychology of the Black Child, and Awakening the Genius in the Black Child. And the third book is Dr. Francis Cress Welson's The ISIS Papers. I intend on, as far as the developmental psychology is concerned, a lot of the solutions that he stated in the book, even though some of it is outdated, because he published that book, I want to say in the late 70s, early 80s, but there is a way of revising the methods in terms of trying to raise strong African-centered children. And one of them is definitely making sure that you have some kind of representation around them. Like, for example, with comic books, TV shows, movies, and stuff like that, you have to sit down and talk to your children and explain to them, why it's okay to look up to them, but why it's not okay to let them guide you in life, if that makes sense. The best example I can give with that is, I want to say, Issa Rae. Phenomenal writer, talented actress, but she is not African centered, and a lot of her shows aren't African centered. And because of that, if I was to have a son or daughter and they had an interest in any one of her projects, I would tell them straight up, you're gonna have to take it strictly for entertainment purposes. You don't try to go further as that. Yeah, some of them might look into it, but like, oh, but Issa Rae's a phenomenal sister. She carried herself well. She's married to a black man. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool, fine, bet. But she jokingly thought it was cool while she was with a black man to encourage black women to date non-black. I have a problem with that. And another thing is also, to a degree, when you look at some of her work, how she even view black men. What else? Nah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna just keep it short. But yeah, I gained a lot of insight from reading Dr. Amos Wilson and Dr. Francis Cress Welsson. And the last thing I wanted to point out, personal experience that I had, learning to have patience when it comes to teaching your children. Because I remember my first experience with one of my nieces, my youngest niece. I was helping out with her homework. I had to check myself immediately because I was coming at her in a way that most black parents would come at their children, which is have this assumption that your child is smart. They know what they know what they're reading. They fully comprehend what they're reading and what it is that they're about to do. When 9 times out of 10 they don't, not because they're not smart, but because they never had the time to understand it and internalize the information. And when I realized that, I said, okay, I need to take my time with my niece. And if I have to come up with other methods in terms of helping out with her homework, then we will do that. And by me learning that, I pretty much learned how to develop the patience to where when I do become a father, instead of bearing down upon them, expecting them to know the answers, I can take my time with them and come up with a whole bunch of solutions, as well as curve my language as well. Because sometimes as adults, we have a tendency to speak to our children as if they're grown when really they're not.
Okay, brother. We have lost both of our sisters to technical issues for the moment. Let me see if I can bring them back up. The brothers are dominating the dominating the conversations a little bit.
Not my intention. Cammy.
Let's see.
Definitely not my intention to dominate.
Cammy,
I'm convinced you guys have something to do with this.
Cammy, you can speak to that question real quick.
Which question?
It was talking about child rearing. What are your methods, or how do you plan to? What methods are you planning to use in child rearing?
That's funny because I swear last time I was on your show, this question came up, and I'm learning. I am very new to my conscious lifestyle, and from the time I've entered it, I always said that I'm gonna homeschool my kids, and lo and behold, here comes a pandemic. um, and everybody got to homeschool their kids. So everybody thought I was the weirdo in my circle. Like, what do you mean you're going to homeschool your kids? So that was automatic for me that I don't want my kids. I don't have children. Do want children, but I don't want my children to grow up in the public school setting or in the Catholic school setting that I got to experience both sides when I was growing up. So I don't want my kids to experience that. So I've been shopping around and looking for African centered schools. I've been looking for home schools that are internet based, that are African centered. So because I don't know everything. And just like Brother Muhammad was saying, like, you got to be really patient with these kids. I was an art teacher for 2 years and I worked with the developmentally disabled, and that took a lot out of me. So I know that I want to rear my kids in a certain direction when I do have children, but I'm still looking around. I'm still shopping around. So once I do end up having kids, I'm like, okay, this is who I'm going to have teach my children along with me teaching them in the household and my husband. So that's the goal, is the direction. I want my kids to be homeschooled. I want my kids to understand their culture. I'm Caribbean. A lot of Caribbean is a lot of Christianity based. um, so even my own family, they want you to baptize. No, that's not happening. We're going to do it the African centered way. We do have a lot of Caribbean elders that are in the community that I do follow that are of Jamaican descent. I am um, in tune with most of them, and there are a few of us. We call ourselves freedom fighters, but it's not a lot of us. So to find that tribe that I'm looking for, especially in the Caribbean community, is going to be fun. So, it looks like I might have to start doing my own things even when I do end up having children. I do have an idea to write African centered children's books, and I want that to come before my children. But either or, I have a path that I'm looking towards to going in, and I have been, like Sister Nzinga, I'm listening to her and I was like, she might be somebody to talk to. So, listening to people out there, people that I follow, a lot of other Black conscious leaders, I pay close attention to what they're saying. And if they are saying what I like, I'll definitely go in that direction. Like, even if I have to leave the state that I'm in to do it, I'm open to doing that, because what I do as a profession allows me to do that.
Sister Cammy, I just changed my my name to my Instagram. I'm going to inbox you, my brother. We helped him set up a homeschool collaborative program. So he has a lot of that work already together. So I'll connect you too.
Yeah, I mean, the man hasn't arrived yet, but my mentals are there, and I've already made up my mind that, so when as I shop around for a husband too, it's like I want to make sure he has this mindset, because that is a conversation that should come up in any discussion, especially when you're dating in the conscious community. So if that answered y'all
May I add
question.
on? Can I add on to that? One of the things our children teach us also. I didn't really have a desire to homeschool my child until my son actually asked me. He said he didn't want to go back to public school anymore. And he asked to be homeschooled. And so I had to figure out how and what does that look like for me and my own family. So I pulled him out of school and I homeschooled him. And one of the things that I realized is I kept trying to do it the way that I knew to do it through my own formal education, but not in the way in which my children needed to be taught. And so through my process, there is a title or term called unschooling. And sometimes you have to unschool not only yourself, but your children as well, because it is very much different when you are choosing to teach your child from whatever curriculum or not, of whatever you're choosing to do in your own home. And so I started following different people. There's a brother out in Ghana. Cannot remember his name right now, but he has a wonderful curriculum that you can actually go through, and it allows you the freedom to adjust it according to your family. But definitely, like, just find the resources and figure out the way that you want to do it for yourself, because it looks different for every single family. And everybody's model may not be right for what you need. And when I realized I wanted to go back into the school system, I found what I already knew about the homeschools or the schools that I wanted my children to be in. And so because my boys were completely different, I chose two separate schools for them. My oldest son, he's very scholarly, like very focused, very, internally driven when it comes to academics. And I knew him being under the tutelage of Baba Baruti and Mama Ya, I knew that would be great for him. And it taught him how to study, how to focus even more, how to apply himself in the way that he needed to. I put my youngest son in a different school because of what he needed as well. But I will also offer that if you choose to put them in someone else's school, you have to make sure you do the homework, because there are a lot of African-centered schools that are public schools in a dashiki. Let me just say that. That's not Baba Baruti and Ina Ya. Mama Ya and Baba Baruti have a really good program for students, but your child has to be ready for that one as well. I mean, I know the sister dropped off. I'm going to connect with her later, but just in case anybody needs this information, just do the work. When I left the public school, I took a drastic pay cut and I went into an African-centered school, and I became the enemy in a sense, because I started to see that what was being advertised was not what the parents were getting. And if you know me, I rock for my children. I love doing what I do. I love my Black people. And I feel like if we're going to pull our children out of these public schools and put them in an African-centered school, they have to get the best of the best. And so from my own formal education, what I started to notice were these children are not even on level. And this was a particular African-centered school. And so you have to make sure that the school is giving to you what they're advertising. But not only that, when you pull your child out, or you need to pull your child out and you put them back in a public school, that they are still on the appropriate level that they are on or above. Because if not, you do them a disservice. And that's all I'm saying.
Thank you for that. And you just pretty much reminded me too. I actually went on Google because I actually have the link saved up, but there are two websites that have a list of African-centered schools all across the United States. And I want to say the number is definitely well over 20 schools. In fact, I want to say there's maybe like 5 or 6 in New York City alone, 4 of them in Brooklyn. But Yeah, I wanted to chime in on that right quick because I definitely do intend on homeschooling my children. I brought the idea out to some of my siblings, and I admit I was met with a little opposition, which wasn't surprising. And when I did branch out and had conversations about homeschooling, I noticed the one question or the one thing that everyone keep bringing up was the socialization process, and I'm just looking at them like, I'm not about to keep my child locked up in a room for 8 freaking hours. That's not how this works.
But what
That's
people don't understand is that there's not a lot of socialization in public school because the children are told to sit down and be quiet and listen to the teacher. There's
And
no
be
room
obedient.
for absolutely. So people have a misconception of what they think homeschooling is, and a lot of times they don't understand that it's a collective. So even when I homeschooled my children, I was Queen Tai, she does the Black Homeschool Expo. She lived right down the street from me. So when she would have science projects where they actually dissecting frogs and stuff like that, I can call Queen Thais and say, "Hey, can my babies come over and do their science lesson with you?" I mean, it's a collective, and that's what you have to do. You have to have a level of community with anything that you do because this work is not easy. Whether you're
It's not.
parenting or whether you're dating or whatever, you have to have a community that has a shared vision so that you can see the results of whatever your goal is. And Sister Cami, I'm gonna get with you. I made some other points, but I didn't want to reiterate. I'm gonna get with you and share some stuff with you.
Yeah. And the last thing I also wanted to point out was the fact that I had a brief conversation with some older cats I want to say not even a couple of months ago. It was actually last year before the pandemic because I talked about homeschooling and I even had to give valid examples. I had to tell them straight up, like you have to actually pay attention to your child. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have to pay attention to them. And once you paid enough attention to them, you'll get an idea as to how you can be able to properly bestow knowledge upon them. And one of the examples that I gave is that, all right, so let's just say your child can't sit down. In fact, and if they could sit down, the longest they probably sit down is for 4 hours. You make really good use of those 4 hours. And I also pointed out the fact that if you are connected to a community of brothers and sisters that are serious about a lot of the things that they do, then those are the people that you send your child to for for not life lessons, but for lessons in general. Like example, let's just say all four of us are a community right now. I'm a single father. I have 2 children, but I'm homeschooling my children. I can send one of my sons to St. Louis Red because he runs his own business. I can send my children to Sister Nzinga because again she's a yoga instructor. So whatever lessons that she want to bestow upon my children, you by the use of yoga, I can do that. Plus she has a very extensive educational background, mathematics, science, history, the language arts, maybe even a little art too, because there is primary lessons that you can learn in art as well. Or in the case of Sister Camille, who also is in business, but she's also in nutrition as well. I can send one of my children or both of them to her to learn about a proper diet and learn how to prepare meals. Just to give a valid, just to give an example. But yeah, I say all that to say that, and I'm also bring it up to you, Sister Camille. I have 2 links. I'm gonna put it in the personal chat, and they have, and or both of them are an extensive list of African-centered schools across the entire United States that they are aware of. There might be some schools that African-centered schools in your state that you're probably even aware of, or it's not listed. And just like Sister Nzinga pointed out, be careful and do your research because some of these African-centered schools are just public education with a dashiki.
Yeah, and I wanted to say real quick that we have several African Center schools here in the DMV area, including the oldest African Center school in the country, started in 1968, Ujuma Shule. So that is a school that I have donated to and attended events for and helped out with for years now. And so I've seen the power of us educating our own children and how beneficial it is and how fulfilling and enriching it is. And it's definitely a totally different environment when you have African people who care about African children teaching African children to be African. For example, Ujuma Shule, just as an example, you have to wear African garb, including the parents. Like you don't walk in there as a European. You see what I'm saying? And so that's just an example of how, at least in my opinion, how it should be done as far as dealing with that type of institution. So my next question is a very simple question because we went all off into children and all that, but everyone's single. So, because that was part of being, so see, add the brother back. Yeah. So my question is, in this day and age with technology and, we're going to just, forget about the pandemic. That's just something that happened. How do you individually go about searching for a compliment or keeping your eye out or however it, where do you go? What do you do? How has that what methods or how does that process work for each individual person? And I am not going to come to Nzinga first. I'm going to come to brother St. Louis Red first.
Appreciate it, brother. It's interesting you should say that because last year is weird. My father was trying to marry me off during the pandemic. He was like, "You should try some online dating. Let's try some other things." I will say locally here in St. Louis, my brother always says it's a town pretending to be a city. We're very small enough where everyone knows each other, and to an extent, to the conscious community, an elder brought it to my attention. What she noticed is that oftentimes it seems like the men and women are in tiers. Like the men are in a certain age group, and there are very few women, and then the women are in another age group, and there are very few men, and then it's kind of like that. So because the world is becoming smaller due to internet and whatever else is going on with the chaos of 2020, it's something that I have become more open to. I'm an in-person person, honestly. I don't even like. I mean, I can talk. I prefer to talk on the phone via text, but I prefer to be in person. And the same thing with meeting people, because I know it's when I was younger, people used to call me a liar because I would always say that physical beauty is extremely important. Me being attracted to a woman, that's important, but it's not. I don't care. Like I literally, I'll see a beautiful woman. Oh, she's very attractive. Until I kind of get a feel for her demeanor, her personality, all those different things that you get from interacting with someone and communicating with them or being around people, I'm not actually interested. So I guess that is something that can still happen online as you build profiles and interact in the interwebs. You can kind of take notice of individuals and all those different things, but it's kind of a new realm for me because I am more so of an in-person individual.
Okay, brother. Yeah, I can relate to that. I'm an in-person person as well, but we're in the 21st century, And what was interesting what you said about the tiers, I found that in different cities that I've traveled to, where you have, like you said, like my generation of brothers, and there weren't a lot of, at least not in DC, there wasn't a lot of sisters who had knowledge at that time. And then you have the generation behind us, a lot of sisters, but not a lot of brothers. It's real weird. And I just thought it was a DC thing. But then you're saying it, and I'm like, maybe this was more of a national thing than I ever realized. Because of course, from almost the pre-technical generation, what I'm saying, before all this stuff, you met people where you met them. If you happen to travel to another city for events, I mean, it was beneficial like that. But I'm from before the days where you could turn on your computer and have access to virtually anyone anywhere on planet Earth. So it's a totally different perspective now. So, Sister Cammy, what's your ideas on what's your methods for trying to find that king that you are looking for?
Now, Brother Conrad,
Who is playing games with this internet?
Like it sounded like she was about to go ham, and the next thing you notice is
Yes,
pew.
exactly. It's not fair.
She
Like,
barely got
And
it.
it happened to you earlier too. You was
I
about to go ham with your point, a very valid point, might I add. And next thing you notice, system failure. I'm like,
just
what?
gone, right?
Like,
Okay.
I'm sitting here
Uh,
at the edge of my seat.
all right, I'm gonna bring her back. She's back. Hold
Yes,
on.
awesome.
Okay, you back?
I'm back. Oh my God. I don't know what that was. um, yes, Brother Conrad, you know me well enough to know that I do a little bit of both, mostly online dating, especially moving to a new city 2 years ago. I share with everybody. I could write a book on my dating life here. It's been interesting. So online dating is what I use. It's not my end all be all. I have met people in person, but I tell people you can meet a weirdo anywhere. I don't care what anybody say. You can meet a weirdo anywhere, and I've seen my share of meeting weirdos in person, and I've seen my share of meeting weirdos online. So that's pretty much how I've been dating. I have met some really good, conscious people online, but nothing's panned out. We've just built friendships to just connect as far as being conscious, because in my profile it basically states that I'm spiritual and I'm not looking and down the path of religion at all. So, once I get to know them and I see where their head is at, I'm like, okay, am I going in that direction where not going with you, or am I trying to get to know you a little bit more? So my dating platforms have mostly been online, and that's mainly because I go out, but because I'm still getting to know people here, I tread very lightly with online dating. So it's been online mostly, and I find decent guys on there. None that's caught my eye fully just yet. So I'm dating. I think there was a question in the chat that had asked that, like, is everybody single? I'm dating, I'm dating with a conscious mindset that I'm not looking for your typical guy. I'm looking for African centered, conscious individual that is equally woke, equally yoked, I call it.
Dating for
Okay.
me is dating for
Oh,
me is
okay. Go ahead, bro.
trash. All right. Yeah, dating for me is trash. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I've actually just recently migrated back to New York City back in November 2019, and right before I could even get a chance to set foot out there and try to do something, because I had to get reacclimated with New York City. Even though I've been gone, I want to say a little over 5 years. There's been so many changes, and I've always been told from outsiders how fast New York City was. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, it is fast. But then when I wasn't around and then I moved back, I suddenly learned how fast it was, and why a lot of people from the South go through a culture shock. They'll get here and be like, oh no, and be done lost their mind. But yeah, so the pandemic had occurred and it kind of put a dap on things. I personally would have been very biased towards online dating, personally for me, mainly because I don't know why. It could be certain information that I put out there. It probably the fact that I'm not on there enough. But I just always felt like that online dating or online these dating apps are biased towards males. I can't speak for the women, but what I can say is based off a lot of conversations I've had with a lot of sisters, it was very easy for them to meet a guy. But for some unknown reason, it's as a guy, it's hard for me to meet a sister. So my methodology is more so to get more get more personal, if that makes sense. I love to go out to events. I love to venture out and go to spaces. And I even told my older sister too, like I'm convinced I'm gonna find my ideal mate in in environments that I prefer to be in, whether it's bookstores, it's libraries, it's poetry and jazz events, even right down to the Natural Hair Festival that they usually do up here in New York City, even though they haven't done it now because of the pandemic. But these are the spaces that I go out to. Why? Because I am wholeheartedly convinced that's where my ideal mate is going to be at. Now, of course, I am realistic enough to know that just because I come across a sister in a bookstore, that doesn't necessarily mean she know how to read or she's reading something serious. Just like how just because I encounter a sister at a natural hair festival, yeah, she might have natural hair, but she might not love her hair, if that makes sense. And even right down to going to these poetry events, I might encounter a sister who's a really amazing poet, but a lot of the poems that she write is black feminist stuff or something of that nature. But yeah, I say all that to say is very complicated for me, and the pandemic has made it even worse for me because a lot of the spaces that I want to have access to, I can't have access to. So now I'm trying to fine tune my methods so I can be able to get the desired result.
And let me say real quick, brother, what you just said, your experience is literally why I created our singles mixes here in DC. And what's so interesting about it is that it was the brothers who, it was their cries for help, if you will, that made me um, formulate and plan, and we executed those for a couple of years. But what was interesting is once you do that, it was the sisters that showed up. So then the sisters like, well, where are the brothers? And then you would go and recruit a bunch of brothers, and they would show up. And then the sisters wouldn't show up because they didn't see brothers the last time. And it was a back and forth thing. And it's like, can I get some cooperation, black people, please? you know. But at the same time, those type of events, I think one thing I think we're going to, as things get back to the new normal, we're going to try to bring those to different cities. Definitely New York seems like a place where I think it would be beneficial. I'm not sure what other cities. So, just hold on, brother. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna try to help you out.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely. Not to cut you off, but I definitely do have a whole lot of patience. I may be 31 years old, and yes, I'm ready to settle down, but I'm not in a rush to settle down. And the reason for that is because I'm trying to put myself in a better position. I currently reside with family right now, and while I love being here, and I do take advantage of the fact that I virtually have no bills, I'm in a really good position. All I really have to worry about is my phone bill and Wi-Fi, and that can be that, and that's an expense of under $300 a month. So I'm very fortunate, and I'm very glad. I feel blessed to be in this position, but I want to step my game up. I know that a lot of sisters will take me more seriously if I had my own place. A lot of sisters will take me more seriously if I have a stronger plan of action, not just any old plan of action, but a stronger plan of action. And so, yeah, so I like to say I'm very patient, and I'm trying to get myself where I am, not just financially and to a degree environmentally, but I also I'm also in the process of working to get myself into a position where I want to be mentally and spiritually, because I'm not scarred. I'm not by a long shot, but I am very cautious, and I do acknowledge the fact that I am very, very distrustful. And it goes back to what I said with some of the spaces that I've encountered. Go to a bookstore, see a sister with a book, but yet when I sit down, and by the time I actually have a full blown conversation with her, she either A, doesn't really read, or whatever it is that she do read, she does not read any nonfiction books. She doesn't read African centered literature. She reads sex based stuff, or she reads manga. She reads comic books, or she reads one of these how to books or whatever is going on. Same moves apply to going to the Natural Hair Festival. Like I said, counter sisters who rock the natural, but they don't love it. Or even worse, you find out that the natural hair on her head is actually a weave. Or not weave, a wig.
The hair is natural, but the brain is permed, for example. I just want to say, Brother Shakur, a part of that is natural, like as Brother Radical said, Conrad. Another reason why, well, granted, the chicken came before the egg, so I was an in-person person to begin with. But as the world became an online thing, I noticed that I'm batting 1,000 or close enough to it in person with the same individuals that had I been in their inbox, there's no response. And a part of that is because just like I never did this, but just like brothers historically would play the numbers game, just you go to a party and just try to get as many numbers as you can, and you're gonna miss a lot, but you eventually gonna get some numbers. Just think about the amount of adult males and men in a sister's inbox. You know what I mean? And oftentimes sisters aren't on social media or all these platforms for that. In fact, just paying attention to certain things, I noticed that a lot of sisters use dating apps to drive traffic to their other social media for their business, for their, all types of different things. So it's, and it's wise, because the thirst is real sometimes. So as much attention as you're getting from men, you're utilizing these dating apps, et cetera, to drive traffic to business or other things. So I think that's a part of it.
That's definitely something I haven't thought of. So thank you for bringing that in. Thank you for bringing that out.
So I'll say for my search, or not really, because I'm not really searching. I just feel like I will meet someone when the time is right. However, a person for me has to come highly recommended from someone in my community. If not, it's probably going to be very challenging because I know if a person asks about me in my community, I know that the elders are going to say, I know that they're going to say that's a quality system. I already know that. So I can't be with someone that is not of good quality. I'm not opposed to the online situations or whatnot. However, I don't necessarily choose them because a lot of the people aren't of the same mindset as myself. So it's pointless for me. We're in an age of technology. So a lot of technology can be used for great things and not so great things. We literally have information at our fingertips all of the time. So we can use that for good or not so good. I know the same with people saying, social media, Instagram, Facebook is trash. Well, it depends on who you're following, because when I log in, I see great stuff because I'm following conscious people or woke people or African-centered people or holistic this or so my feed doesn't show me a whole bunch of baby daddy this, baby mama that, whatever the case may be. I'm actually surrounded by the information that I want to be surrounded by. So I'm not opposed to the online platform or meeting somebody, but I just think that certain apps are not going to be for me because, most of the people there filtering through that is going to be really a waste of time,
Yes. I want to piggyback on what you said earlier about the newsfeed situation. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that part. And I've been telling a lot of brothers and sisters for the last couple of years, if you don't like your social media, change it up. Let's break it. Even when I'm gonna say I'll play with the words, for example. Let's look at the phrase social media. The whole point to social media is for you to socialize in media or socialize in cyberspace. Facebook has an internet. It's about establishing an internet community. Instagram, even though it's not necessarily an internet community, but it's still social media nonetheless. So you have this news feed, you're gonna have access to certain things that you really want to see. And I tell brothers and sisters this all the time. If you don't like certain things on your news feed, change it. And what that necessarily mean is you might have to unfollow some people. When it comes to Facebook, you might have to unfriend a couple of people. And that's really what it all boiled down to. And I admit I'm currently working on changing up my news feed as well, because there's a whole lot of things that I don't like. And I will admit there's going to be a whole lot of people I'm going to have to unfriend, people that I love very much and I hold near and dear to, but it's like, nah, you're going to have to get off my page. I can only last so much, or I can only get annoyed so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, brother. I actually had to do that in real life before social media. That to me, that's part of the journey. When you take this path, there are people that can't come with you, and then there are people that you're going to meet who are going to replace the people that you had to leave behind. And that's something that you just have to understand is part of the journey. I mean, even with family. Their family you're gonna have to leave behind, but you're going to meet and create a new family as you continue on in this journey. Brother BB Fahodier, man, says, and at this point we're gonna have to take up a collection for Sister Cammy to pay her tech bills. I don't know what's happening.
Don't
right
do
now
that to
with
Kenny. Don't do that to my sister.
It's like every time I want to go to her, she disappears. I'm like, what's going on? And I guarantee you, when this show is over, she will not have not one single tech problem. I don't know what is happening. But also, and let me say real quick, because I haven't done this. This is the center, and I am your host, DC Radical 1. You can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical, the numeral 1. On Twitter at DC_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $ DC Radical 1. And of course, this is the YouTube page, capital D, small c, Radical 1. And you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. So, just want to let everyone know that for the new listeners and new followers. And if you are new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button and share the channel with your friends and family, as long as they are straight, black, and proud. So let me try to bring Sister Cammy back on.
Brother DC, the last thing I also wanted to point out too with the whole social media thing, because like you said, you had to do it in person. I've definitely been doing that in person, and what that really is about, that's about accountability and a responsibility. If there's certain things, like, before technology, when it was in person, parents used to tell us all the time, not everyone is your friend, or that person is not your friend, or that person is not your friend. And you're going to have to sit down, you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to observe whether how that person talks to you, what that person says to you, how that person acts around you, how that person acts around you with other people around you. So yeah, you're definitely owed a certain level of responsibility when it comes to the social media, so much so to the point where you also have to be cautious what you put out. Now, that's not to say that, if you have your personal views about certain things, don't put it out there. Definitely put it out there. But there's just certain pieces of information, pertinent information, that should not be out there. Sisters and brothers, stop dogging your mates or your ex-mates on social media, because by you putting yourself out there, you're making yourself look foolish. Or if you're not dogging out your mate, or whatever the case may be, you airing other people's personal business out there, or you airing your personal business about other things. And yet you got the nerve to had the audacity to get mad when somebody comment under this, or DM you and call you out on that. If you don't want nobody in your business, don't put it out there. The world didn't need to know that you got 3 to 4 different baby mamas or baby fathers. The world did not need to know that. And now, because of you put it out there, you now not only ruin your chance of a potential mate, but now you're also the laughing stock for the next couple of hours on social media. You're now running joke, and that can all be avoided if you be considerate of what you post, and also change up your news feed, add people or follow people that is of quality, is of some kind of value to you. So that way, when you do go on social media, you're in a good mood. And that's the last thing I also wanted to point out too, because it was at one point where every time I go on social media, I used to feel some type of way, so much so to the point where I would stay off on weeks on end and months on end. I'm like, you know what? I need to change that. I need to fix this. I need to unfollow this person. I need to unfriend that person. I might have to block you, most certainly. And then now, again, it's situated to where should I wake up, or even if I was to not wake up. If I wake up in the morning, yes. If I wake up in the morning, or if I wake up in the middle of the night and I decide to open up my phone, I know 9 times out of 10, I'm going to see something constructive on Facebook. I know I'm going to see something constructive on Twitter. I know I'm going to see something constructive on Instagram, if that makes sense.
Not to, I don't want to miss Sister Nzinga's point earlier. I also agree with the timeline. I love my timeline, even though I still hate social media, but I do like my timeline. Earlier, you said that the next person you date would have to be highly recommended. I'm in agreement with that. I'm actually at the point where I would have had zero issue with an arranged marriage. I would have had zero issue with that. But speaking with Malamu Barudi a few months ago, he kind of flipped that on us, where he was talking about the concept of a lot of people want to wait until they feel a certain way about a person before they bring them around friends or family, et cetera, et cetera. And his thought process was, we should do the opposite of that. Because if you have a solid mother and father, solid friend, solid grandmother, et cetera, let them gauge, let them get a feel and a vibe for that person. So I'm 100% with you in terms of people becoming highly recommended. And I actually did bring someone I was dating around family at one point in time, and something very interesting happened. I was appreciative on the one hand, but I learned something. So various friends and family members kept telling the sister, you got a solid brother. This is a solid brother. You got a good man here." And strangely, her response was, it got to a point where her response was, "I'm a good woman," or "What you think he got with me," et cetera, et cetera. Which was very intriguing. I had no idea why she was defensive. I learned some things later, and I won't get into that. But that worked out for me. So that probably would be something instead of holding off. I mean, I would also take a suggestion, but instead of holding off, bringing them around people I trust. Another thing I noticed with another scenario is where conflict arises between a best friend and someone you're dating, or a mother and someone you're dating, and going to different conferences on domestic violence and abuse, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes that's an isolation tactic. I see this as your best friend, or I see this as your mother. I know they feel a certain way about you, so I'm going to cause and create conflict between us, so that generally we won't be around each other, and I can have you to self, and then I can manipulate more. So that's something I picked up from a conference as well. So it is good to bring them around your people, or to take suggestions from your people.
Definitely. I'll
Hold on,
right
brother.
quick.
Hold on,
Okay.
brother. Let me speak on that. Um, there's so much in what you just said to unpack. I have examples from when I was younger with brothers that would meet these sisters, and exactly what you talked about. Where now we always had a thing. We would, when we met sisters, we would bring them around the sisters, right, of the community that I was in at the time, and the sisters would kind of give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Now, if you didn't take the advice, everything that took place after that was on you. Right? You understand what I'm saying? And we had a situation where this was my ace. This was a brother that when I was a 5%er, we used to hang tight, and I would teach him and everything. And he met this sister, and she did her best to try to break up our bond, and was doing like some really wild stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, this is out of pocket. And I had asked one of the sisters, and she was like, yeah, I don't know about her. And let's just go on and say that his life would be better had he not met her. That's all I'm going to say. We tried to tell him. He didn't want to listen for whatever reason. We were all much younger, and it was disastrous. And I tell sisters, like, if younger sisters ask me for advice, I tell them straight up. I say, if you meet a brother, or especially if you meet him online, and he claims that he's conscious, I say the easiest thing for you to do, bring him to one of our events. We'll vet him. You know what I'm saying? We'll take care of it, because what happens is that if a man claims to be a certain thing, and when he comes around other men, if he's not sincere, he'll be intimidated, and you can see it and you can feel it, and then it's just exposed. The same thing. I'm assuming the same thing with a sister. If a sister comes around other sisters who are grounded in something, like when we have our SBPM events, our sisters, they carry themselves a certain way, they speak a certain way, they act a certain way. If a brother brings a sister around and she doesn't fit in, we know what time it is, But that's the beauty of having a community, so that you can vet people, especially a community of like-minded people. That I just think that's so important as far as searching for a compliment and having your community vet the person. Because like you said, just that situation where everyone they're recommending you. They're talking about how great you are, and somehow that became something negative. I mean that's not a red flag. That's a whole parade of flags. You know what I'm saying? So that was interesting when you said it. I was like, man, I can understand that.
Pardon.
I just wanted to point this out right quick. As far as bringing the potential around your family, I admit due to my upbringing and like I said, I've been reconnected with some of my siblings whom I know for a fact they love me, but I do acknowledge the fact that I'm different compared to them. Like in plain English, I'm a square. I'm not ashamed to admit that, and I take pride in that. So I will admit I have some level of apprehension in terms of bringing a potential mate around my family, mainly because of how I am and how I carry myself. So I know 9 times out of 10, if I do bring a mate around me, she's gonna be just like me. She's gonna be a square. She's gonna be African centered. Of course, she's gonna be divine feminine while I'm divine masculine. But the point is like we're eventually gonna be different compared to my entire family, who is not conscious, so to speak. They have not been on the journey. One or two of them are, but for the most part, though, I mean, respectfully, they love the ratchet stuff, and I have to respect that. But it doesn't mean I have to partake in it all the time. And the very, very, very last thing I also want to point out is I remember on social media, a lot of sisters used to bring up their annoyance about how, a lot of guys had a tendency to bring a lot of girls around their family, so to speak. And their whole notion is don't trust that because 9 times out of 10, he's not really, guys bring girls around their family all the time or something of that nature. Failing to realize like there's a reason why he brings you around his family, especially around other women, his sisters, his cousins, or his aunts. You're getting screened. You just don't know it, but you're getting screened. And if you have not made your way back, 9 times out of 10, you did something that told him, yeah, you need to stay away from her.
Can I add on to that? So we have to restructure our thinking about what dating is and what dating should be. A lot of times when you bring somebody around family, they just automatically say, oh, that's the one because you're here. That doesn't necessarily mean you're the one. It's the vetting process, and then to your point, Brother Shakur, you may not be able to bring them around your family, but you have to create your family. You have to create your own community, because some of the people that I may talk to, I wouldn't necessarily take them to meet my uncle or whatever the case may be, but I definitely would go get the opinion of my elders. You know what I mean? Because they know me, and I hope they know this person, and they're going to tell me, oh no, maybe y'all may have some troubles in this area because I know the brother in this way, but we have to change what dating is and what our vetting process looks like. Like, I really feel like women and men should honestly and openly date more than one person at a time. I'm not saying you got to sleep with them. I'm saying dating. That's how you increase your chances, of finding what you want and what you need. But during that process, you're also vetting the person. Is this somebody I really want to be around? There's too many people wanting to be married because they want this whole honeymoon fairy tale, whatever the case may be. But people don't necessarily know how to be wives or how to be husbands, because you can definitely wear a wedding ring, but you can be a butthole. You can be manipulative. You can be vindictive. You can be all of these crazy things, but you're married. You know what I mean? No, I think we really have to go into dating, relationships, all of that after we really understand who we are and what we need, what we expect. And Baba Barudi's book does that really well. He has a book, I'm sure y'all know, Complementarity. And that's a really good book to sit down with a person that you're interested in and asking them, well, how do you see education? If we were to stay together and be together and have children, how are we going to operate with our children? Because one person might want public school, the other one say I'm homeschooling. What are we going to do with these finances? Am I going to be a stay-at-home mom and work with these children? Are you going to be the breadwinner and bring in the funds. People have to have those kind of conversations, and a lot of times we don't have those conversations, and so we get in situations that we probably could have prevented had we openly dated, brought these people around, helped them understand who we are, go around their social circles and see who they are, and not be afraid that a person is going to judge us because we're bringing one person this week. Next week we got another friend here. We have to change the conversation around what it looks like to date and vet a person.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and this kind of ties into uh my wealth of knowledge with the relationship abuse prevention thing, aka teen dating violence, or just domestic violence, or as something else I like to say, looking for healthy relationships, finding ways of having healthy relationships. Um, I tell sisters and brothers this all the time: date whoever you do, date whoever you want, date as many as you want, but because knowing that sex is a spiritual covenant, do not have sex with these people. You're a grown person, you're going to do what you want to do. I just recommend that you be cautious. But however, I wholeheartedly recommend you're not obligated to have sex with each and every person that you date. That's one. Two, screening process. You most certainly have to screen your mate. You must be comfortable enough to ask them some really serious and hard questions during the process as well. And don't get it twisted. They 9 times out of 10, if they really are of some kind of quality, they're going to ask you some hard questions, and you better be ready to be honest. A book that I actually would like to cite, and I say this because I actually did a book club on this. It's by Hill Harper, and it's called The Conversation. And the whole point to the book was him basically saying you're going to have real in-depth, hardcore conversations, not just about, what are their likes and what are their dislikes. You got to have conversations about their respective family history. You got to have conversations about sexuality. You most certainly got to have conversations about finances as well, because you need to see where their head is. Are they good at budgeting? Are they good? Are they good at budgeting? How smart are they with their spending power? What kind of plan of action do they have if they want to invest? Saving options, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, I agree with you, Sister Nzinga. We most certainly must screen who we date.
What was your second point again, Brother Shakur?
Damn, I was talking so fast. Let's see. The first.
The first one was.
He said screening.
Sex.
The first one was sexual obligation, and the second one was screening and asking the uncomfortable questions.
Perfect, thank you. So you told me do tell. I'll tell, but before I tell, I wanted to touch on those 2 points. First was sex. You spoke on it earlier in the meeting where you were saying sisters don't like when you're not sexually aggressive. During the dating process, the courting process. I have at times throughout my life in dating, I've went on stretches of abstinence. I do believe in removing sex from the courting process, et cetera, and that was very problematic at times with dating. But the good thing is that's fine. It's actually like, okay, this isn't the person you should be dating. Mm-hmm. Simply plain. Now, granted, I do not believe that's a mindset you should have, where sex has to be part, you know what I mean? But that's not my struggle. I'm looking to build with someone when the sex is the easy part. Oftentimes, sex is the easy part, especially when you talk about connecting spiritually and all those different things. The negative aspect of it happens. So that's going to develop. The second part was you were talking about the vetting process. Listen, please listen. Like you said, you ask them questions. Ask them questions. Like oftentimes this is how I feel about this. So how do you feel about that? You know what I mean? And oftentimes we can project right into a person playing a role because they may be interested in it, or they may be manipulative. But sometimes for me, for example, a sister could be interested. And this is what you project and this is what you're on. So that's the role I'm going to play because I think I want to be with you. You know what I mean? Until wearing that costume becomes heavy, it's like, wait, I got to take this off. I'm sorry, I can't do this. So
I agree. And one of the key things that I bring up with in terms of having healthy relationships, you must be an active listener. And I want to set the record straight on what exactly is to actively listen. It's more than just you being in on the receiving end on the conversation. you really have to observe this person. You got to detect their microaggressions if they have any, or just micro actions, or whatever the wordplay it is for that. But the point is like you really got to sit there and you have to pay attention. And in some instances, you also got to pay attention to not what it is that they say, but how they say certain things as well. And also another key thing about being an active, not actively active listener, active communicator. That's the wordplay I meant to use. Active communicator. When it comes to speaking too, you must also be careful what it is that you say and how you say it. And I realized that as well, because I admit I can come off very intimidated, and let many people tell it, I can come off very confrontational. Knowing this, there's been numerous times where I've had to curve my tone, and I've had to watch what I say sometimes, because the last thing I really want to do is keep intimidating and running off sisters. Not saying that I've been doing this for such a very long time, but I have run off a few sisters because they're very much intimidated by me.
And then, Sister Nzinga, to answer your question, I've never had the capacity or the wherewithal.
Go back.
Go ahead.
You got to give them the context.
Oh, the context. So you mentioned we should date multiple people. I did at 14 years old. It was 1 year in summer. I was in a summer school program. I had like 4 or 5 young ladies I was dating all at the same program, which was terrible. I wasn't doing it maliciously or anything of that nature. But prior to and post that, I just did not have the interest in juggling and getting to know several different personalities, et cetera, et cetera. Now I'm at a point where I still may not date multiple people simultaneously because I don't have an interest. I don't have the energy for it. But it's becoming clearer what I'm looking for. I was joking with my therapist in a conversation, and I said, the older I get and the more I experience, the more difficult I believe it's going to be for me to find my partner. I was joking though. And she laughed and picked up on exactly what I was getting at. And she said, actually, it should become easier because you know now more and more what you're looking for. What just happened?
Agreed.
Oh, we hear you.
No, it disappeared. But no, you know what you're looking for, so it'll be easier to screen. So my screening process may become a lot shorter. And that way I can get to different individuals, but I can't juggle. I can't talk to multiple people at the same time.
Another thing I wanted to bring up too was the sexual aspect. And I'm pretty sure you've had similar experience as well, brother, where like you said, you've been practicing abstinence for a significant portion of time. It's so hilarious how some sisters react to you, either A, not being sexually attracted to them, or B, not being sexually aggressive with them. I mean, outside of the whole them trying to insult my masculinity and manhood, like it's just real hilarious to see how sisters act when you're not in that type of frame of mind. And as funny as it sounds, I've even detected the notes of embarrassment from some of these sisters as well, because they already had this notion of how everything was going to play out when they're with me. But then when it was all said and done, like, okay, we really just sat here and watched a movie. We really sat here and had in-depth conversations. We really sat here and had a borderline therapy session, and you don't want this? No, I was just checking to see how your day was. I wanted to discuss the film. And also,
pardon.
And the very last thing I was also going to say is by cutting, I ain't gonna say cutting the sex off, but by practicing sexual responsibility, if that makes sense, you pretty much get to learn the maturity levels of your potential mates, and even right down to some of your friends as well.
And so, okay, I totally get what you're saying. I understand. I think that just as a woman, I think every person wants to know that they're desired when you are with your person, your complement or whatever, or even in the dating process. You just want to know that you're desired. So yes, the movie might be great, but what about touch my leg or lean over, give me a kiss on the cheek or something like that? Like that can go a long way. And the conversation of just saying, hey, where I'm at right now, I want to hold off on this. You may just have to have those conversations. We're going to hold off on the sex. However, but we can still be intimate, and I'm not meaning intimate like in foreplay or whatever. Well, kissing is foreplay, but just doing certain things to let her know I'm still interested in you. I think you're gorgeous. I think you're beautiful. I am sexually attracted to you, but I'm waiting because I have a level of discipline. And I think that could go a long way as well.
Brother DC, I need to drop off, but I appreciate you having me.
Hey, brother. Yeah, I saw that. Go ahead and just give people your information and everything before you leave, and we'll continue because we're not gonna be on much longer. It was
Yes.
one more question, but go ahead and let people know get your information.
Well, I'm out here, St. Louis, Missouri, building community. So anybody in the area, plug in. Even if you're not in the area, my social media, at least my Instagram, is right there, St. Louis Red. That's primarily where I'm active on social media. Um, but appreciate everyone. I will connect with everyone else on the panel.
All
It's
right,
great
brother.
chatting with you.
Thank you for appearing on the show.
Peace, brother.
I have to pat myself on the back for choosing a tremendous panel. I've been able to sit here and relax while you all been dropping knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So we used to grabbing the mic and speaking for 2 hours and doing all the work. It's different when you have intelligent people who come on and present wonderful discussion. So I'm grateful really because I'm not actually, be completely honest, I wasn't familiar with everybody before I chose the panel. But sometimes you get good vibes and good energy, and then sometimes some people come recommended. I'm not going to name names of who came recommended, but there was one other question I wanted to get to. The question was, how important is money in African-centered relationships? Oh, in the African-centered dating paradigm. So I'm gonna let Sister Cammy. I'm gonna let her start it off because she already shaking her head. So go ahead, sister.
Is very important. And I say this with a finance background. It is really great that, people of our community want to open nonprofits, but we need to stop being nonprofit. And that means in our relationships also, So I share even with my clients in finance, I am financial services, I'm not social services. So it's necessary that if we are coming to the forefront with such a plethora of greatness when it comes to who we are, and we're searching for a king or a queen that we want, then why not make sure you're dating at your wage? Don't try to date at an upper level when you know you shouldn't be. Date at your wage, but also make sure that you guys are coming together to build an empire, because if y'all not realizing, the odds are pretty much stacked against us when it comes to generational wealth. And I teach people about this on a daily basis. And I see couples that are literally sinking because they can't come to terms on how they want to divvy up their finances. God forbid something happens to them. And it's like, what the heck? So you got to make sure when you choosing that person, you make sure you choosing them, because I think it was Brother Muhammad that said it. He said it earlier that you want to make sure that you can afford the person. You gotta be able to not date out of your league. Not saying that you can you don't have to date, you have to date out of your league or whatever, but you have to make sure that the people that you're dating, they're financially savvy, they can pay their bills, they're not drowning in debt or anything like that. Yes, I understand some of us have made big mistakes when it came to finances, and that's not on us. It's just that we have poor education when it comes to finance, but you want to make sure that money does play a major part in everything. And I'm not looking for a rich man. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I will date a good guy, and we all have our misconceptions about who's a good guy, but I will date a good man that, cares about me, but I have to really pay attention. How ambitious is he to go out there and make it for himself? Ambition plays a major part in money making. You can't be out here, say you want a six-figure income, but yet you're playing video games every day. It's not gonna work for me. So, when I'm dating with a conscious mind, but I'm also dating with a keen mind, because if I'm writing down a certain type of goal that I want to achieve in life and how I want my future to look, best believe you should be able to fit and complement that lifestyle that I'm looking to have, because I'm already creating that for myself. So you should be coming in with something. Coming in with something, and if you don't have anything, you got a plan, and I'm gonna help you execute that plan, because that's what women are, not all women, but that's what I'm here for, is to build you up, and we can do this together. So money plays a major part.
Okay, I guess I'll answer next. Finances is extremely important in an African centered household, and I don't think people take the time to realize the depths of the importance, if that makes sense, because it's more than just how much the man, or if some people want to deviate just a little bit from gender norms, how much the man and the woman is making. But again, it goes back into spending power. It goes back into their field, the particular career that they're going to, as far the field that they're going to as far as a career is concerned. And damn, I want to say something else too. Their goals and aspirations, and what it is that they want to do with the finances. Like, what kind of house that you want to buy, how where would you like to buy your house, where would you like to live, that sort of thing. What kind of car that you have, how much money do you put into the car, how old is the car, how new is the car. Um, yeah, so yeah, finances is extremely important. And I will say, from a male standpoint, I admit in my early 20s, I was a little frustrated with that aspect of things. And the reason for that is because I fully comprehend that, yes, I don't have a criminal record. My record is clean. I know for a fact that I have a whole bunch of opportunities waiting in front of me in order to take advantage of, but it's just a matter of where exactly do I want to go? Do I want to be this criminal defense attorney? Do I want to be a carpenter? Do I want to be a historian? Do I want to be a teacher? That sort of thing. And if so, how am I going to go about these particular fields? And how am I going to go about making the necessary funds that I want to make? Because, for example, with teaching, even though teaching is like one of those underpaid, one of the most underpaid gigs out there, it's how you go about being a teacher. And what people also fail to realize, a tutor technically is a teacher. So if you're able to, what's the word? Outsource your skill set in terms of tutoring children, that's a whole lot of money that you could make just by sitting with certain people's children for 30 minutes to 2 hours out of a day. Um, and another thing I also wanted to point out too is, a lot of sisters have this notion of how much money certain men are making, so much so to the point where if they do come across a man that is interested in them, and if they're not spending a certain amount of funds with them, that becomes a problem. I remember there was a video that was circulating on Instagram, I want to say maybe a year or so ago, where a brother was explaining his experience. He was dating a young lady. He took her out to a nice restaurant and whatnot. But he no, not no, but he took her out to a nice restaurant. She liked it, and them two were dating, and until she had asked him if he can take her out to another particular restaurant, except that restaurant was expensive. He thought, okay, should I tell the truth or should I lie? He chose to tell her the truth, which was that, yeah, we can go to this restaurant, just not immediately. That's probably going to happen some far down the way. And the reason for that is because I am trying to save my money. There are certain things that I really want to do with my money. She took it as either A, he wasn't interested in her, or he was broke. So she just completely stepped off from him. And the reason why I bring that up is because to a degree, this is where Sister Scheherazade comes into play. A lot of us are not just Sister not this, not just Sister Scheherazade Ali, but also Dr. Amos Wilson, which is that we are influenced in some form of capacity by white people. The sisters have definitely been influenced by white females, and the brothers have definitely been influenced by white males, so much so to the point where how we go about certain things, how we conduct ourselves, not just in the community, but even from a financial aspect. And I really do hope I'm making sense because I know I have a tendency to talk all over the place.
That was good. That was good. Good point. For me, yes, money is definitely important. As I mentioned before, it's a matter of being equally yoked in those things. I know the lifestyle that I can afford, and if he cannot afford his lifestyle or mine, then you may not be somebody that I would be interested in because you know, I enjoy nice things. I enjoy doing nice. I just enjoy nice things. Okay. I remember at one point I was dating someone who didn't have a passport and didn't want a passport. That's an issue for me because every summer when summer break comes, I like to get a stamp on my passport. I like to lay up on the beach and I like to enjoy myself because I work hard and I want to play hard as well, you know. So if you are unwilling to get your passport and don't see the benefit of that, then what we gonna do? Because I'm going and I'm going for a whole week, you know. And if you don't have your money right so that you can go as well, then it's going to be very challenging for us. And not only is the money aspect of it is important, but being able and willing to learn about money and those spending habits because I keep a good budget. I know how to budget very well. And so, you know, sometimes men feel like some men feel like because they are the men, they are the head, they have to do the da 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 da. But you have to qualify yourself to allow me to relinquish my budget the way that I choose to spend my money. I need to know that I can trust that your budget is going to be great. Show me something, teach me something, or if you cannot, let me teach you. You know what I mean? So there has to be a willingness or an opportunity to learn about money, about spending habits, about budgeting, if we're going to progress. And yeah, that's it. Everybody else said everything else.
I wanted to chime in right quick. One of the main reasons why I bring up the wordplay spending power is because a lot of us aren't necessarily aware of how powerful the black dollar actually is. Because I mean, it's been statistically proven time and time and again, year after year after year, that black people are the biggest consumers, if not in the entire world, and definitely here in the United States of America. And so, knowing this, we have to be cautious as to who exactly we're giving our money to and why we giving our money to these people. And it goes back to what you said, sister. You like nice things. Nothing wrong with that. But then, you know, it goes back into having that serious conversation. What do you perceive as nice things? I'm not asking you this directly because I think I have an idea because you are African centered. But there are some sisters who genuinely do not know exactly what it means to have nice things, and same rules apply to the guys. They might not have an idea what it means to have nice things or what do quote unquote nice things look like, because unfortunately a lot of us think nice things look like Jordans or some kind of expensive sneakers and shoes, red bottoms for the sisters, Maseratis and Lamborghinis in the car department, condos and borderline mansions to a degree, even right down to traveling. Commonly, people always talking about Dubai or talking about Jamaica or it was another vacation spot that a lot of people like to go to, and that's been popular. Oh, Puerto Rico. Even though to me Puerto Rico isn't really that expensive, but the point is that we have to really, really sit down and pay attention and consider what exactly that we perceive nice, and we also need to look at our spending power as well. And I always tell people this too because this is something that Dr. Amos Wilson also said. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm merely encouraging you to be responsible with your money, because again, we are the biggest consumers on the United States of America, if not on the planet. One of the best ways to combat that is to be cautious as to who we're giving our money to. Stop giving your money to these white-owned corporations or these
Mhm.
non-black corporations. Start giving your money to black corporations if they have corporations, or black businesses.
Mhm.
And also, we can't talk about wanting black businesses to succeed, but every time a price comes about, we have a complaint. There's a way to go about it, and even right down to some of the services too. Because me and a few of my siblings, we definitely have had conversations in terms of supporting black businesses, and I've heard some of the legitimate reasonings behind it all. But one thing I do love about a few of my siblings is the fact that they're still very much willing to try black businesses. It might not be the same one that they go to, but but they're still very much ready, willing, and able to try it. And also take this in consideration in terms of spending power. Some of these brothers and sisters don't even know how to run a business. So it's up to us to be a little bit more patient with them. Not saying that we shouldn't, have any gripes and shouldn't have any complaints. But again, it's not what you say and how you say it. Let these sisters know, all right, or let these sisters or brothers know, all right, I do like your products. I am very much willing to buy another one, or I'm very much willing to buy a product, but I've heard such and such and such. Like, example, you purchase some earrings, and according to the website, it said you receive the earrings within 3 to 5 business days. Here it is going on 30 days. And then they come up with some lame excuse as to why they did what they did, and it's like, nah, sister, sister or brother, if you want me to continue to support you, you need to come correct. This is how you go about things. Or not so much as coming them in a way in an educational format, but just merely just coming to them as a concerned customer, someone who really has all the intentions to continue to support them, if that makes sense.
It does. And I'll just clarify this. I know you weren't specifically asking me about what the nice things are, but I did see someone in the chat that mentioned being only materialistic is a Eurocentric concept. So let me clarify on that. For me, nice things, I collect experiences. Okay, I collect memories. So I like to be able to take myself to whatever island I want to go to, and enjoy myself. I like to be able to go hiking, and if I need some hiking boots, I want the ones that are not going to mess up my ankles. A nice good boot. So I collect experiences. I love books. I love to read. So if it's a book that I want to get, I want to be able to get a book. So those are the things that I speak of, not necessarily having I don't know, whatever name brand type this or type that. Those are not the materialistic things that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the experiences, things that push me further. If I want to, just anything that I want to be able to do. I don't want to have to limit myself in that area. Yes, I know how to spend, but I also know how to save as well. And I consciously save in that I have goals on what I want to do. So I know that when the summer comes, I know that I want to be able to catch a flight and go somewhere. So I have a personal account where I put a little money aside for that throughout the year, because that's what I want to do. That's what that's what I enjoy doing. And it's about self-care. Too many women, well, people, I'm just gonna say people, we wear ourselves out going to someone's 9 to 5 all the time, but then we refuse or choose not to do the things that make us feel good. I enjoy a massage every month. Why? Because I work hard. You know what I mean? And again, it's not about the material things, but I do the things that's going to preserve my life. I like to be able to feel relaxed. So yeah, those are the things that I'm talking about. Not necessarily clothes or, shoes, Louboutins, or this, that, and the other. I collect memories and moments.
I hear that. And I was also going to say, I already had an idea as to what exactly that you mean. And I say this because a lot of African-centered sisters that I know or aware of, they're not into name brands or anything of that nature. So, and that's something we need to set the record straight on, because, again, when we look at sisters and brothers from an African centered standpoint, yeah, a lot of them talk about how they like nice things. But again, it's a conversation that needs to be had for clarification purposes, not to assume, not to be judgmental, but again, for clarification purposes. And yes, there are some African centered brothers and sisters who are materialistic, but I can respect some of them because of how they go about their quote unquote materialism. For example, there's a lot of African centered brands that's been coming out clothing wise, like brothers who make really good shoes, brothers who make well shoes, sneakers, and boots, sisters who make nice outfits, clothing, dresses, shirts, pants, jeans, etc., etc., etc. So it's nothing wrong with you being quote unquote materialistic in that aspect. Why? Because you're shopping with a black person. So it's okay to have nice things, but be conscious of where you're getting these nice things.
Okay. Last question before we wrap up. And I just thought about it as we were talking and everybody was talking about everything. How important is your how important is it that your potential complement or someone you're dating is actually doing race work? And what I mean by that is like actually doing stuff in the community, actually active in an organization or institution, as opposed to what I call online consciousness. How important is that? And then that will be the last question before we wrap up. So whoever wants to take charge of that one, go ahead.
I'm gonna start off first because I have a tendency to have a lot to say, so I'm gonna just hurry up and knock it out of the way. Um, it's extremely important to me, and I will also like to clear it up as far as like how they go about doing the race work. They don't necessarily have to be active with an organization or movement, and I say this is because a lot of us have this tendency to equate race work with it always having to be with an organization or with a movement, so to speak. And really it doesn't have to. It starts in a community. We are all leaders. It takes a village, and I do not stress that enough. Like personally for me, I'm big into the whole healthy relationships thing. I tell people about domestic violence. I talk to people about domestic violence. I tell people to be aware of certain signs of people who are abusive. No, I'm not an expert, but I'm passing on this knowledge. A lot of this stuff really it's basic common sense. It's nothing for you to sit there and observe your mate or potential mate and again be an active communicator or be an active listener, sitting down listening to what they have to say, following their movements or just studying their behaviors. And even when you speak to them too, pay attention to how they respond or how they react or how they take what it is that you're saying or what it is that you're asking. But yeah, it's extremely important to me, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an organization. It doesn't necessarily have to be a group. It would be a plus, but it doesn't always have to be the case. Why? Because unfortunately, there are a lot of organizations and a lot of movements that are not genuinely for the people. They're just there to get some clout. Example: when we look at BLM, the message in terms, I mean, I agree with the wordplay in and of itself. Black Lives Matter. I wholeheartedly agree that Black Lives Matter. But when we look down into the nitty gritty of the situation, they're not actively participating in enforcing that Black Lives Matter. I've yet to hear about these brothers and sisters, or well, weirdos. I'm just saying for what it is. I've yet to hear any of these weirdos going into African-centered schools and volunteering their services. I've yet to hear any of these weirdos going into schools, galvanizing and looking forward to teaching some kind of African studies or teaching skills that are worthwhile, whether it's mechanical and engineering, homemaking, if that makes sense. What else? I've yet to hear any of these weirdos even discuss putting money into the community. Because like as BLM, you're getting a couple of millions of dollars. What's wrong with donating even just 1,000? What's wrong with donating 1,000 to Straight Black Pride? What's wrong with donating what's wrong with donating 10 grand to the Revolutionary Black Panther Party?
Because
What's
they won't
wrong?
get the funding. They will not get the funding if they do that. We know the answer to
No,
that.
yeah, of course, we already know the answer. I'm just bringing this out here because I'm also I'm also forcing our viewers to ask themselves certain questions, and take a moment, a step back to regress, because there are some brothers and sisters who still support BLM despite the BS. But now they're forced to be like, hold on, wait a minute now. You're right. There's more than just protesting and galvanizing. But yeah, it's extremely important. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a group, organization, or movement. It's a plus, but I'm also very cautious as to what group, organization, or movement that they represent.
Sister Cammy, did you want to go next? I know.
Sure. Um, so the question was basically how important is, your partner being active in a community, basically. Um, it's 50-50. you know, as long as you're supporting your community, that's a major. But if you're not active, because not everybody wants to be out there on the front lines. If they're supporting on the back end, then that's major. Like, what are you doing on the back end? So that's pretty much in a nutshell. It's not necessarily a major thing as long as I know that you are literally giving back to your community at some point in time. You know, that that's okay, but it's not necessarily an end all be all. Like, you need to be out here in the streets feeding the homeless, and you gotta be in the soup kitchen. Like, no, because we have, everybody has a life, and not saying that that's a bad thing that that we're not doing it, but there's people for everything. There are givers that's okay with saying, you know what, let me go give my time back to the community. I play a major part in how I give back to my community. But like I said, with my finance business, I tell people I'm not social services. I give back on the front end, and that ties again in with the fact that a lot of us want to have this nonprofit mentality and not realizing that we need to be for profit as a community. There's a lot of things that could have been lifted off the ground in our community, a lot more, especially the African-centered schools that could have been lifted off the ground a lot quicker if we pooled our resources a little bit better. So, of course, we're the top spenders in the community, but look how our community is suffering because we have this nonprofit mentality, and we got to get away from it. We got to start thinking like, Power Economics book says, like, we need to start coming together as a collective and doing exactly what the Jews is out there doing. Because as y'all can see, they have something's going on there, and it's not to say we're taking anything from them, because we don't want no parts of what they're doing. But you want to make sure that you're focused on making sure that your community is well taken care of, and you don't have to be up there on the front lines. You can give back on the back end.
And I'll definitely piggyback on that because everybody has a role to play. You definitely can't just be a lit professor. That's not going to work for me. But I'm not necessarily expecting you to be on the front lines either. Especially at my age, I'm not on the front lines right now. You know what I mean? But the work that I have done, you can see in the seeds that I planted. So no, I may not have access to be out there protesting and throwing, bricks and rocks or whatever. I know that we didn't do all of that, but I may not do that. But I saw the child that I raised on the front line standing toe to toe with the police officers. So that makes me happy. So again, it goes back to knowing and understanding the person that you're actually dating or trying to be with, because somebody's going to know the work that they've done. Somebody's going to know, and somebody's going to be able to tell you, yeah, that person, they for it, or they're not going to support the liberation or African sovereignty. So yeah, they don't necessarily have to be on the front lines, but your work will have to be shown. And I want to know what your harvest looks like, for lack of better words. Where's your harvest? And then going back to everybody playing a role, sometimes the ones who are not sitting on the front lines, they're the ones bailing the people out of jail when they get locked up. Those people are important too. Sometimes the people are reporting what's going on. They're writing about it, in our media. Those people are important too. So everybody has a role to play. We just need to play our role properly, and we also need to support each other and not down each other because my work doesn't look like your work.
All right, sister. Those are all excellent responses. So we are creeping up on the 3 hour mark, which means it is about that time. I want to thank the panel. Want to thank Brother Muhammad. Want to thank Nzinga the Queen, of course, Sister Cammy, and Brother St. Louis Red, who had to leave us early. I think this was very productive, very insightful. Again, this was outstanding panel that let me pat myself on the back again that yours truly put together. Someone asked, will there be another one of these? My plan is to have one show a month dedicated to black love and relationships. So we'll probably do it again. It may or may not be the same panel. Probably be some different people, but this will be a focus, because I feel like, being completely honest, there's so much toxicity as far as the concept of black love on YouTube. I feel like we are providing a breath of fresh air and doing a little counter programming and doing some what Marcus Garvey called proper propaganda. So with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for hanging in there with us for now 3 hours. I thank our wonderful panel for hanging in there with us and coming back repeatedly despite technical difficulties, because you could have easily just bowed out and said thanks for no thanks. And it was definitely a wonderful experience. So with that, I say a BB for Hodie and straight black pride.